Bless up, everybody. You don't know I am HINDZ, and today in hindsight, we're going to get into it right quick today because I want to share another podcast with you. I was on a platform called Self-Hired, an amazing platform, and this conversation was a really good conversation actually that I wanted to share on the channel for those of you who like the long form content. You know, you could play this while you in the kitchen doing your thing, or if you want to sit down and be present and watch the whole video, whatever your flavor is. But I just wanted to share this with the tribe exclusively, and yeah, we're just gonna get right into it.
HINDZ,
What's up?
what's cracking? First things first, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you're a crazy creative. I know you had a lot on the go, and I know that you're in a lot of different places. So taking the time out and coming and hanging out with me, I really, really appreciate it, man.
No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me, first off.
Well, you came to mind because I had done some digging online and found out that you actually yourself had a podcast. And I was like, oh, this man is perfect for a podcast, because I had tuned into your creative content, et cetera, et cetera. If you haven't checked it out, go to YouTube right now, hindsight,
Right.
and you'll find some content. But man, you are born for long form content.
You think so?
Oh my God. I don't know. Listen, I don't know how much editing that you do like vocally in terms of like how much you have to cut your stuff up, because it seems flawless.
Oh yeah, no, I do it pretty kind of one take in a flow.
That's what it seems like.
But I like to talk just like in one kind of take. When I watch a lot of videos on YouTube, a lot of guys piece their stories in like an edited version. So they'll talk a little bit in this scene and then walk to a different location.
And that.
I tried doing that, but it breaks my flow.
And your thought.
And my thought process.
Yeah.
Like I get into like a stride and then I just let it go. So when you say that, I'm like, yeah, I probably do got to focus on more long form content.
100%. We're waiting for it. That being said, where does the whole, let's set the stage here. Where does the whole hindsight thing come from? Where does HINDZ come from? Like, what is the origin story of that?
HINDZ is my name.
HINDZ is your actual last name?
It's my last name, right? So it's a play on word, but it's really my perspective.
Right.
You know, growing up, I was always the quiet kid. I was always very quiet, shy, and the way I saw the world was by observing.
Right.
That's how I learned. That's how I learned people. Before I even spoke, I'd always just observe the room. So when I say in hindsight, it's really just like my perspective.
Yeah.
That's why I say in hindsight, everything gonna be all right, because it's like my mantra.
Hell yeah. In hindsight. No, I love it. In retrospect, but it's funny, it's ironic because you have such foresight.
In foresight and hindsight,
You have a lot of foresight.
No, 100%. 100%.
So that's what's up. So that's one of the first things I noticed off of your content. I'm like, oh, HINDZ, hindsight, that's pretty dope. I didn't actually know that was your last name, but regardless, and it's always, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I noticed on all your videos, all your creative content, is this whole powered by Ja.
Right.
Please explain that. What's up with that? What motivated you to go down that route, and maybe explain Ja for people that don't know?
Powered by Ja is basically me translating that I'm powered by a higher power, right? My higher self, source, whatever you may want to call it. For me, I say Ja. That's the way I translate God. I don't even know when that came to me. It was one of those things that just flowed, and one day I was just like, a lot of times I'll be working, or sometimes I'll watch myself back in a video, and I'm like, who was that? Because I don't even know, like, I felt like something else came through me. I'm like, that was like a different flow state.
Yeah.
That was powered by a higher power.
Straight.
And when I started to tune in myself, I was like, yeah, that's Ja. That's when I started to really grow my dreadlocks and like tune into Rastafari. So that's how I discovered that part.
Yeah, it's crazy. The whole powered by Ja is like a really cool little creative twist. And it also, like, for instance, when you're watching a creative or a creative that's still growing or not super well established, and you're like, well, it almost, the whole powered by Ja thing, like, adds a level of both legitimacy for some weird reason. I understand.
Like, it's like verified, like a Twitter
it's
mark.
like verified.
Like check, right?
It is, and you're like, oh, powered by Ja. Okay. All right.
It's a statement.
It's a statement.
It's a statement.
And I love it. And I have a little bit of background on that, so I kind of knew what it was. And
Yeah,
I was
I
understood. But,
right.
Most people won't.
Yeah.
But it had that, like, okay, check. And then it adds like a level of authenticity. Listening to you speak about it now is like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this is just because when you look at yourself on camera, I do it with the podcast all the time. I'm like, you said those things? You were there? That was you working in those motions? Or like, even when you watch yourself in hindsight in any spot, you're like, wow, that's really amazing that I did that. How did I do that?
Hey, it's like you inspire yourself. Yeah. It's amazing. No, I go through those moments all the time, and it's beautiful.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, 100%. It's fun.
Because you're like, oh, wait a minute. I am beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, look at me.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have those moments like, oh shit.
That's when I started to find like real happiness, was when I started to film myself and started to give a perspective. Because like I said, before I was like very quiet. So before I just shoot videos for other people, like me getting on camera was, even if you go back and watch my videos, it was like a process. First, I was like, the first video, it was a voiceover and it was like facing my back. So you couldn't even see my face. Then the next video was like a side angle of me talking. And then slowly, then I stepped right in front of the camera directly. Yeah. And the more I went, the more I started to love myself. Yeah. And I'd watch back myself. I'm like, wow, I'm having fun. I'm just having fun, like giving my perspective, doing my edits, and like I'm enjoying who I'm seeing right now. That's me.
Yeah, it's amazing. No, it's unreal. I love you did a recent piece about negativity, and that changed my perspective on you a little bit. Because I could see that you had crafted a lane. A lot of times, like, creatives craft a lane and they operate within that lane and they're very comfortable. Right. Or even myself, like I craft an archetype, I craft a personality, and I stay in that personality.
Right.
And then when I watch your negativity, a little creative, almost like a think piece. I don't know. Like it was
it was called Full of Pain, right?
Oh, yeah, Full of Pain.
Right.
No.
No.
You did a separate one on negativity, tuning your frequency.
Oh, yeah, that was actually the last one I did.
It's unreal.
Right.
Anyways, and so you did that, and you had all these, like, you were expressing your thoughts and emotions so much visually through your facial expressions.
Right.
And like really having fun. And I was like, oh, like he's putting himself out there like that. Like he's comfortable.
Right.
And I was like, oh, he's operating outside of his spectrum.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's a difference in, like, that's the difference for me when I watch creatives. Like, oh no, they're pushing themselves.
I appreciate you actually watching that and taking that in like that.
Oh man, like if it's good content,
right,
I'm sniffing it out, and
that's
I'm like,
amazing.
Why is this, like, why? I don't get engaged easly.
Right.
Conversation engages me.
Right.
Video content and photo content doesn't. Maybe I'm numb. I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm, you know.
Well, there's so much of it.
There's
like,
so much
you
of
can
it.
digest it, and you're like,
you know, like if you're on the bus or wherever you're on the train, you're scrolling through, like maybe you're scrolling through 150 images. You're just numb. Like your brain can't process that. So if I see something that engages me, I'm like, oh, that was dope.
Right.
Let me dive in.
That's dope.
And those things are rare. Like, I mean, honestly, there's not a lot. There's a million creatives, and there's not a lot that like really catch my eye. And I'm like, okay, something's different there. I got to figure out what it is. I don't know what it is. I got to figure it out. It's the same thing with people. Sometimes I encounter people, you know, the universe brings people into my life, and I'm like, oh, you're different.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're different.
But you could resonate. You could feel it.
But you're different.
100%. Yeah.
I met someone today. I did the grouse grind this morning, and I met someone today on the trail.
Yeah.
And just, you know, casual conversation, whatever. And we end up talking the whole way up and talking the whole way down, and, you know, end up being like this business development person for like the Vancouver Grizzlies, et cetera, et cetera.
Crazy.
And I'm like, how?
Right. How does that happen?
How does that happen?
Do you ever meet people and you feel like, this may be weird, but like they're versions of yourselves? That happens to me. Certain people I meet, I'm like, I feel like you are like a piece of me. It's weird. Like,
no, I understand.
And like you're almost like teaching me something. We're like, you know, you're showing me something I'm supposed to see. I don't know if other people see things like that, but like I've met people, I'm like, wow, like, is this like a parallel universe going on right now? Like, what's going on? And I'll really tune in and be like, oh, you're showing me something. And I'm probably vice versa. That's why we're connecting so much right now.
Yeah, that's like it's a mirror, but it's from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, slightly different. Yeah,
it's like what do they call it? Like it's like a kaleidoscope,
right?
In a way, like you're seeing things differently. Yeah. Like man, even this guy today, it was like I resonate with that so much. Where it's like, oh, this is a person that, you know, in my life, I feel like we've had similar paths, but he's taken some rights where I've taken some lefts.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're like, oh wow, that's where that could have led in a way. And you're almost like living through that person in this weird way, just because the energy is connecting. Like it's, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
You both could feel it. No, I connect with you on that. I understand that.
I feel that in a real way. So anyway, I definitely really connected with that whole negativity thing, and your process. So I dug deep. Like I dug deep. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I went all the way back and started to see your early work and started to see how you grew, because you used to work with guys like Tory Lanez and stuff like that. And like, really, it looks like, I don't know the story, and I'd love for you to fill me in on it, but like, it looks as if you went from a place of like working and getting hired for other people to really just like you're to working, doubling down on your own creative content and your own personality and your own craft, and then building videos and pieces how you want them. And I don't know what that transformation was like, but from what it looks like, just looking from the surface level, like you were on as a creative.
Yeah, very quickly too.
Like, so what's the story there? What's the progression?
It was, my bad. It was basically like when I started doing videos, I only started doing videos mainly to promote myself as a music producer, because before I would make music, so I started making beats.
That's where the beats come from.
That's where the beats came from, right? And then when I started doing videos, like instantly, I kind of just had like a knack for editing. So people started hitting me up right away and wanted to like get videos. So within the first, I'd say the day I started shooting videos, within that first 8 months, I went from like shooting one of my own videos, and then that's how I met Tory Lanez, and I started working with Universal Records, and then I ended up living with Sean Kingston and then traveling with him. And this is still when he was like at his game, right? So like I'm going
like to Beautiful Girls and stuff. Or
this is
like,
a little after Beautiful Girls. He had other hits than that, but like we're in Brazil doing shows, 80,000 people. I'm on stage, there's 80,000 people right there. We're going backstage. T-Pain's there. We're kicking it with T-Pain, and we go back to his house. Justin Bieber's at the house. He lives up the street, like it was. So I went from my mom's basement to like 8 months later, I'm living in Hollywood.
When was this?
It was like 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's like 2011, 2012.
Yeah, I think so. Damn. It was definitely a trip, and it happened very quick, right?
Right.
It doesn't happen like that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Really doesn't.
Yeah, but I was blessed. I was definitely blessed.
So you were out making creative content for your music, and you got a private message, you got a, like, how did that doesn't just happen? Like, I feel like there's a story there.
Well, people would seek me out, but I also went on the offense. Like, I would study. So I think the way I met Tory was basically, I noticed when he first got signed because Sean Kingston signed him at one point.
Yeah.
And he had like good videos. I was actually following Tory for a long time. So he had all these good videos. And then like a year later, he had all these horrible videos. So I literally sent him a tweet like, you need videos. And I sent him 2 of my own videos from like making music, shooting myself or whatever. Because I felt like this is probably the most powerful piece to like really embody who I am as an individual. Yeah. He hit me back right away and was like, yo, you're dope. Are you Canadian? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, where? I'm like, Vancouver. He's like, yo, I'm actually coming there in like 2 weeks. Great. Never been there in my life. I'm like, divine timing, right? So when he comes, he's coming here to do a show. We link up, and then we kind of made plans. We're like, we connected, and we're like, yo, let's work. Yeah. And let's go to Miami or LA. So we were gonna go to Miami, but he couldn't cross the border. He ended up getting flagged by the border because he was going back and forth, like grinding, and he was starting to have like online buzz. So they were able to pull him up, like. Yeah. So he couldn't go. So I was like, well, okay, that's gone. And then I stayed in the city just working. And at this time, this was like, we're just shooting music videos. Like, right. This is how I know Self-Hired, because at the same time, actually Self-Hired shot my first video.
No.
This is facts.
Shout out to Kevin Wong.
This was for my birthday. It was a birthday celebration. It was called the Wonder Years. I flipped the Wonder Years beat, and Kevin Wong shot my first video. I wasn't doing videos at this time. Kevin was like the main guy doing all the videos for like Kilowatt and everything. And the way Kevin was one of the people who actually inspired me to get into videos.
Wow.
And then at the same time, there was another guy named Gramps. He came down from Toronto to work for Kilowatt, Red One, bought him out. And he did music and videos. Wow. And I was like, damn, he does both.
Yeah.
I only did beats. But he kind of became like a big brother in my life, and he really kind of noticed me. I think he resonated and saw something in me that he saw in himself.
Yeah.
So we kicked it, and he said to me like, yo, you need to like the more you can do, the more of a threat you are. And I was back then. There's like more. I think things were very competitive in the city, because we're all young. Mm-hmm. A lot of rappers, a lot of people. Everyone's kind of competing but working together at the same time. So I'm like, you're right. Like I need to learn more. That's when I took on doing video.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you hit Tory. You guys started working together, and that leads you to Sean Kingston. That leads you down to Brazil. You started doing this, like you start hitting the shows, doing their creative content.
Yeah, Kingston hit me up when I was in Mexico, and then I was in Mexico with a local band here, and Kingston hit me up. He's just like, "Yo, I want to work with you," and I was like, oh, that's crazy. But I actually didn't even hit him back. When I came back to Vancouver, I was in Mexico. I was just like on a whole other wave. I was doing like shooting music videos for this girl. She's super dope. And I came back here and I was like, I'm not trying to be in Vancouver right now. So I hit him back and I'm like, yo, let's work. He's like, come to LA. So I literally went on like WestJet. I had a $300 voucher from WestJet because coming back from Mexico, they stalled the flight and like anyone who wants to get off will give you a voucher. I was like, okay, cool. Come back, check the flight. It's $300 to get to LA. I have a $300 voucher. Bam. Literally have no money on me. Like I'm broke. Like, I got no money. So like, I'm like, perfect. I got the flight to go.
We're
Booked
good.
my flight. I'm like coming on Thursday. Come on Thursday. He has someone pick me up at the airport. Boom. Then I'm just like out of nowhere. Now I'm just like living in his house. And no one even knows because I didn't tell anybody I was going. I didn't say anything. The only person that knew was my mom.
Yeah.
Right? No one knew until like I put out like a video, like a vlog with him.
Yeah.
So it was like, whoa, what the hell? Like,
when did this happen?
how did that happen?
Yeah.
Right? But that happened because Tori like hit him up. He's like, yo, you should check my dude out. And then he just hit me up. He's like, Sean was like, oh, I got like a good eye for things. Like, you're dope. And the weird thing about him, with him and Tori, is like neither of them treated me just like a videographer. Like they would both like on camera always be shouting me out. Like even in like, I think the second vlog, like a little tour documentary I did for Sean, he brought me on camera and he's like, we're going to create a brand together. And he like brought me on, they always wanted me to speak, but I was like shy back then. Like that was like out of my comfort zone, right? Or Tory Lanez would be like, HINDZ is a genius, like on camera. They just didn't treat me like the guy behind the camera. They treated me like a creative, which I respected. And that also like really did boost my confidence. I already was confident, but also like while I was with Sean, I remember the moment was, we were in Brazil and he did like this really big show. It was like 80,000 people. It was a big festival. And I'm like step on stage filming him. And I was like, whoa, this is insane. Like just 80,000 people in Brazil, like never been anywhere in my life. Like didn't have the opportunity to travel. So the fact that I picked up this like Canon T2i and now I'm in Brazil was crazy. But then something in that moment, and I like to say it was Ja, it was like, you need to tell your story. And I'm like, I don't have a story, right? And that's kind of was the turning point for like inside, but I didn't act on it right away.
So you said, I don't have a story. How young were you at that point?
How old was I?
Yeah.
25.
Okay, crazy.
I was a year into making videos.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't start videos until I was 24.
Jesus.
Because I was making beats before.
That's crazy.
I wanted to just be like Swizz Beats, Timberland. Like videos wasn't a thing.
How life changes. So you're there, you're in front of 80,000 people, you're filming. Like first off, being in, like that's a feeling that very few people get to experience. Like being in like that energy is crazy.
Yeah.
So what, you have a conversation, you go back, you're like, hey, I need to go my own direction. Like what happens there?
Well, there was in Brazil there was like a little bit of a hiccup, and like I kind of noticed he didn't have like a solid team around him. Right. In a sense, he had like a lot of yes men.
Tory or Sean?
Sean.
Yeah.
He had a lot of like, I would say like toxic people.
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense. You know, some people, you know, you look at people probably like Drake and like Kendrick, you know, they have key players. They've definitely cultivated a solid foundation, like a solid team. Sean would have kind of people who just come around for the ride and the hype. Yeah. And, you know, I start to hear stories coming out of different people's mouths and people talking ill will of each other or talking about Sean. And I kind of flexed the situation that this wasn't going to be like a solid team to grow with. And I had like my own little altercation with Sean, and then we worked it out. But I was still like, listen, I'm not like these other dudes. Like this is just like the second chapter in the book of HINDZ. So like you can't think I'm gonna be hyped off of. I was arguing with him about something when it came to something. He's like, well, you know, you get to ride in the Rolls Royce, and I'm like, I don't care about those things. Like I'm here for opportunity, right? That's why his mom loved me, because when I came there, I didn't care about anything else but just working. I would shoot, I'd go to my room. 10 hours later, I'd come out with work, go back into my room. I wasn't upstairs partying, I wasn't drinking. Girls would be coming around. I wasn't doing none of that.
Crazy.
I was focused. So when they kind of seen I didn't move like that, and then when I had that feeling like I need to kind of do my own thing, and at the time I had a 2-year-old daughter, so I was like, am I gonna get a house? They were kind of saying like, you know, you can get a house here if you want to, like, you get the visa. And I was like, am I gonna set up a life in LA? Because if I do, this is where I'm gonna be.
This is it.
And my daughter's not coming with me to LA. Right? So like, what am I doing? And then at the same time, certain things weren't making me like everybody was so happy for me, right? I also had like, you know, like dope. I had the Jesus piece, you know, like the nice diamond crescent one. So I was like, came back to Vancouver. People were like, man, you killing it. People hit it. And it's like, but I wasn't, and I've said this before in other talks, but I'm like, I just wasn't actually happy, right? I just felt like I was going with the motions, with the perception of everything. But I'm like, it's not even resonating. And these are certain things that I truly wanted to, situations I wanted to be in, and now they're not.
And now it's not it.
It's not it. And that's like a hard place to be, right? Because now you have to like break everything down again.
Yeah.
Well, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah, so what now?
What do you mean? Like, what else is there to do?
That's that crisis moment. That's that existential crisis
Because I thought
moment.
I wanted to be a music video director.
Yeah.
I thought I would watch people like Colin Tilley.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then I always knew, like, I did an interview, I think back then with Hip Hop Canada, and I always said like, I want to do music videos, but at the same time, I always knew I would get into other things. But I knew for whatever I had to do that wasn't going to be the environment to get me to where I needed to go.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where I needed to go.
Yeah.
So I had to close the door, right? I had to close that door and come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so this is not it. I don't know what it is, but this is not it.
This is not it. Right.
It's a lot of foresight. It's a lot of maturity too.
Yeah, but I'm a firm believer that like you can't open a door without sometimes closing another. So I knew I couldn't just play on the sidelines on both. Like, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna do this because this is like hot right now, and then also try to figure it out. I tried to do that for like a short little bit, but that wasn't gonna work. When I came back here, it was just kind of like still doing videos within the city, doing some things. We opened up a studio called Triangle Park, and you know, me and Tori were still working together because I still heavily believed in him. But at the same time, it's just every time I would go to LA and work with him, it just never felt like the environment for me. I always felt out of place.
Interesting. And for some reason, Vancouver's always stuck with you as home, or stuck with you as the place for you creatively? Or is it more the place where your daughter was at?
Yeah, I'm grounded in that sense, right? Like, I'm grounded in that sense. I grew to love Vancouver more. I definitely, back then, I was like, every time I go to LA, I'd get into situations and meet people who could do so much for my career and give me so much opportunity. And in Vancouver, I really felt like I hit a ceiling that nobody could do nothing for me here. That's how I felt. Like
people still feel that way.
In the creative space, right? I still feel like that. I don't feel like that. Like in LA, you can meet someone that could like take you and be like, here, I'm gonna meet you, introduce you to this person, and your life has changed. Here, it's not like that. But to me, I realized, well, I'm not trying to climb this ladder. I'm not trying to go the route of I worked with this person, this person, this person, and this person. That's not what I'm trying to do anymore. So it doesn't matter if I'm in LA. LA is all about a name game. LA is about who you've worked with, then you put it in your bio.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I'm trying to do something else, it doesn't matter where I am. I could go back home. I could just figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, like on paper, I mean, it makes sense, and philosophically it makes sense, and it's a great story.
It makes sense now because for me it worked.
And it makes sense now.
I'm not saying it made sense then. I'm just saying that's what I felt I had to do. That's intuition, right?
Right.
Like I said, I was always the quiet kid. So I'm very used to my own voice.
Right. And you pay attention to it. You understand it.
Yes, I'm very used to my own voice. I have siblings, but I grew up basically an only child, right? Just me and my mom out here. So I grew up by myself all the time. I grew up with my own voice. So when I listen to my voice, I follow it, you know?
Right. But do you ever feel like that voice is lying to you at all? Like I feel as humans, we are inclined to tell ourselves what we want to hear to survive and what we want to hear to put ourselves in the paradigm that we want.
And we want things that make sense.
We want the narrative to make sense. We want to be right.
Of course.
But we're not right. Like that's just like, for myself at least, like, you know, I catch myself lying to myself all the time.
Of course, we do that.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Like, where's that voice coming from?
You have to do that though.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are just like, oh no, it's my intuition. But a lot of people say, hey, listen, I'm playing to my intuition, but in reality, you're actually playing to your insecurities, because your insecurities they have this voice and they tell you to go a certain way, and you're like, oh, they mistake that for intuition or a higher calling, et cetera, when really you're just playing into your comfort zone.
You could be playing into your comfort zone,
very well
100%,
could be.
but you had to be able to challenge yourself like that. You had to be able to challenge those voices. I would say I made the right decision because the HINDZ, the individual at that point, wasn't able to do the things I'm able to do now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like I remember I found happiness by having, at a time where I went into like isolation, I wasn't even posting any videos. I had no shine. Everybody forgot about me. And I was so happy. Like I was waking up happy, like super happy. And at the time I removed a lot of things out of my life. I was like living in my own, it wasn't like, you know, in a cave in the mountains, but that's kind of how I created it.
That's how you felt.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And when I reached happiness like that, because like I said, I was very shy. Like it was, I had, I would guess I would probably say like social anxiety. Like I would have to think about a conversation that I'm about to have in a situation.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like you would pre-plan out the conversation in your head in order to be comfortable in it.
100%, because I wasn't comfortable fully with myself.
I making it up on the fly and see where it goes.
That started to happen probably between the ages of like 19 and 25. That started to happen. It wasn't like that when I was really young.
Oh, really?
I was shy, but I was actually confident.
Right.
But it was around 19 to 25. That was more when I started to experiment and get into like hip hop and things like that. And that's when I started smoking and drinking a little bit. All those things. I always say I lost a little sense of myself during that time, and then I came back to myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes contrast, right? Like it takes the dark and the light.
100%.
In order to be able to do that. So, and it's really interesting that you talk about that, because I see you have kind of created, even today I see just in your videos, because you create at home, I see this little like asylum. I see this like little like, it's a vibe, you know, like it's a vibe thing, you know, like
it's a sanctuary.
It's a sanctuary. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the word I was searching for. And it seems like you are very happy just being there and being alive and doing you within that space. There's not a lot of people on this planet like that. There's not.
Like I said, to me, that was a beautiful, that didn't exist before. I created that.
Yeah.
And when you create that and then you look at it and you can feel it and you're like, oh, people will come to my home and they'll be like, there's an energy here. I'm like, that's me. You know, I cultivated that. Yeah. I created that energy, and I'm glad you can feel it. Yeah. And then when I started to put that into videos, and then I started to use my skills from making music, and then my skills from shooting videos for other people. And then when I quit everything, I was editing wedding videos at a company, and I used to listen to podcasts like crazy, and Hot 97 and Breakfast Club. So I fell in love with this. I fell in love with audio. Like I just fell in love with like radio. I was like, oh, do I want to do radio? Because I wasn't sure at this point what I wanted to do. And then that's when I fell in love. So I just took the music, the videos, and then the love for this, and found a way to combine it all. And I'm like, oh, I'm my own artist. Yeah. That's me telling my story. Yeah. That was the voice 5 years ago telling me, you have a story to tell. You have something to bring. I always felt like that, right? And I always had to challenge myself. I'm like, was this my ego, or was this knowing there was more than themselves? I really disliked when everyone would introduce me as Sean Kingston's video guy or Tory Lanez's guy. Yep. I'll be honest, I still get annoyed talking about it to this day, but I realize when I watch people do podcast tours, they say the same thing in every podcast because they're telling their story, and I'm like, it's a part of my story, so I realize I have to speak about it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because everyone always wants to talk about it. I'm like, man, I'm so over that.
Man, I had no idea, and I watched all your content, so it's you clearly, like, I'm not saying
I've taken it out.
It's gone.
I've cleared it out.
Like I heard one sample
from Tory.
Yeah,
and it was just a dope sample, so I'm like, I had to use it, right? But there's a lot of content. I've literally gone online and purged things. Like, because I just wanted it to be gone. Yeah. But then I realized every time people ask me about it, I was just on a radio show a couple weeks ago. That's what they wanted to talk about. And I'm like, is this going to live? But I'm like, HINDZ, right now, this is a part of your story. Yeah.
Embrace it.
Yeah. And people seem to grab value from it.
It's a noble story. So people are going to grab value from it. At this point, it's a noble story, right?
It sounds great.
You know, it sounds great. It looks great on paper or whatever. But so bringing those three things together is amazing. And that's it's a limitless boundary of creativity. Because sounds, like our senses, and you have a way of bringing that all together. And just to go back to what you were speaking about creating an environment, man, you can go in a space and you can understand what the people there are like, you know, and you can, and that was a big point of emphasis. Like, we just moved in here like a week ago. Right. And it was just like, okay, so let's get our stuff in here. Like, we have a ton going on, you know, let's get things moving, but we have to do this right. And like, I got no problem. Like, let's throw money at it, or let's because it's really important, because we need people to come in here and feel something that's indescribable. Of course. You know, and people don't understand that. I mean, that's what a lot of like interior design is about. That's what a lot of even just interacting with a human is about. Like that, there's a aura in a way that radiates off people that is real. You can pick up on it. If you're emotionally intelligent, you start to really get sensitive to those types of energies or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
That being said, like, it's hard to build that. Like, I'm in a spot where with my own personal home, I have a ton of things going on professionally and creatively, et cetera, and I am on 100 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. All I want is to come home and to create that space. But I've noticed that I can't even create that space because I myself am not in that space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, you already have the answer.
I know.
You have the problem and the answer. You're very wise.
Anyway, so that's why I've always liked your space and what I've seen in your videos, whatever, whether it's the plants or whether it's, you know, the music that you create or the lighting, the aesthetic or everything, whatever it is, it's beautiful how you've curated that. Do you have like any education in that, or is that just like natural talent of putting things together in that beautiful way?
Yeah, no.
Like, did you go to school for anything like design wise or? No,
and it's crazy because like, this is like random, but like what I want to do in life, like later in life, is like I heavily want to get into like home decor.
Sorry, I laugh, but like, I mean, that's epic.
This is a dream. Like, and it's been on my mind heavy the last 3 days for some reason. I even tweeted it like 2 days ago. I'm like, I want to get into home decor. It's like a dream of mine.
Please break that down. Why do you want to get into home decor?
I just have a big passion for home decor, and especially like right now, I moved again. So I had like a beautiful spot in White Rock. It was actually more a studio that I was sharing with somebody and vibed it out and whatnot. But I moved again. So I'm in this process of vibing things out. And it's exciting because, you know, I get to cultivate the vibes. And while I'm doing this, I'm like, I have a real passion for this. And people always come like, yo, I've had people ask me like, hey, I'm opening up like this new space. Do you think you can come like check it out and like give me some advice? Or people are like, yo, I should hire you to like vibe out this for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have a passion. And I look at things, I'm like, I could create decor. Like I could create vibes in homes. I could do that. And that would be like actual, I mean, everything's exciting for me, but that would be so like, cool. That should just make me nerd out. And that's something, you know, in my 50s, 60s, 70s, I could like continue, like go to Morocco and grab patterns, do these. Like I'd love to do that, you know? I don't have the time now, but I just like create a lot of mood boards. I think I'm going to go heavy on Pinterest and just create like all my themes and stuff. So like over the years, I'm going to, there will be a home decor thing. Like give me like, I don't know, maybe 10 years from now, but it's going to happen.
I love it. I love that you have that, like, I'm not attached to one thing or the other. Like if I want to go do home decor, I'm going to go do it.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. I love that. And you know what? At the end of the day, like, who says you can't reinvent yourself at 50?
Like, bro, I'm a lifelong artist. Like I always think I'm gonna hit my real stride in like my 40s or 50s, and like I feel like some of my best work may come out then. I don't think it may be now in my 30s. I just came into my 30s. I don't think it may be now, because I look at some artists, I mean, even look like Hove. You know, that's
great example.
Amazing. I just seen this woman as well. She's 67. She's a model for I know Rihanna hired her, and she's beautiful. She's 67, long gray hair, and she's like, not everyone gets the opportunity to age, and she's like a big model now. She just started modeling a couple of years ago, but she has this like amazing look. And I'm like, at 67, she starts. I'm like, timeless. You know what I'm saying? I think if you can see yourself in a timeless state, like who says you have to like by 40 you're washed out, 50 you're washed out?
Yeah, that's just a society thing, man.
That's just a society thing. And you at 40 or 45 or 50, you can completely do something else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're an artist, if you're a businessman, you can do whatever.
Reinvent yourself. You said something that you fucking gold. Not everyone gets the opportunity to age.
That one hit me heavy. I know. That one hit me heavy.
Like I'm working through the weeds on that right now. Like
it's an opportunity.
You know, the concept of beauty is crazy, and I completely reinvented my perception of beauty just recently. Of like, you know, beauty was synonymous with youth, but I used to think about the way that I came into thinking about beauty in this new parallel was I'm an athlete and had played basketball in Europe for a little while. This was a short stint, and I realized that your prime as a basketball player is very limited. And you hear, guys talk about it. Hey, you got 2-3 years. Kawhi Leonard's in his prime or whatever it is. Like, he's got to go now because he's going to lose that. And as high performance athletes, I understand that. And then you look at guys like Hove, who recently became a billionaire. It was like, your prime as a businessman could be 60 to 80.
That's facts.
Why couldn't your prime in beauty be 60 to 80? Why couldn't you redefine beauty?
I think we are. I think it's being done by this model that I see.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Because it did redefine beauty for me. I was like, I've actually always been hyped for me at like 60, 70 with like long gray dreads. And I'm always just like, I'm going to be so wavy at like 60, 70 years old.
Silver fox and shit.
Yeah, just like fly, Yeah.
I
think if you love yourself, you take care of yourself, and you allow that passion to live even at 60. A lot of times people are like going like this, down, right? They're like, I've lived my life, now it's just time. But if you keep that fuel like alive, I think, that's the beauty there. That's how you redefine it.
It's amazing. It's a societal thing where it's like, oh no, you've had your time, you've been young, you went, you got married, you have fun, like the whole like have fun when you're young.
But all of that is
what does that mean?
All of that is changing, like even those time structures.
But
like,
Heinz, is it, or is it changing in your world?
Well,
is it changing in the world, or is it changing in your world?
Well, my world is definitely changing. That's
my world is changing.
That's my perspective. Yeah.
Yes. I would argue that it's not changing in the world. I think it might, on an individual level, there's a certain level of awakening, a certain level of a new perspective that's being gained. And yes, we're in an age that information can travel, flawlessly in an instant. And so maybe that will help spread that. But I think that I often get confused. I'll have an inner revelation, and I'll look at the world and say, why don't you think this?
Like how you think?
Yeah. And I'm like, why? Like, I look at the world.
But that would be so dull.
It would be, but I'm like, I get inspired, and then I look at the world, and the world is not like that. I'm like, oh.
I think it's dope when we don't think alike, because that's how you come up with better ideas, right? I'm
not saying that the diversification and diversity generally amazing, of course, but I'm just saying that the progression that you see in yourself is not always reflected in the world, and that like makes me mad. Because there's so much education, there's so many people, there's so much greatness in the world, and yet you don't see the progression that you can experience on an individual level, because you're in control of an individual level. And sometimes I look at the world and I think, fuck, like how do I grasp that shit? How do I take that bull by the horns?
I know, but when I started to progress myself, I started to see the world doing the same way. Of course, like the world, like you're saying, but like I see the world like that. I see it changing. But my world is changing.
Yep.
So it's changing to me.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? It's changing to me. I understand we all, like when I was a kid, I used to like look at different people and I'm like, I can't believe every single person here has like their own world going on. Like I wonder what it's like to be inside their mind.
Yeah.
I wonder what, like my daughters tell me, you're the best dad in the world. Someone else will say that too. Like you can't have two best dads in the world technically, but you can, because we all experience the different worlds.
Worlds.
I think that's almost like when people talk about parallel universes, I'm like, well, we all have our own universe. We all have our own world. We all have our own truth. Like I believe there's one truth, but I believe we all have our own truths. Like 100% that we all have our own truths. And like the beauty is like when you can understand someone else's truth, even though it's opposite from your truth, but you can understand them and understand that's their truth and that's what they believe. And you don't get angry by it. You don't try to change it, and you understand your truth, because that's how I think the world needs to be.
Empathy. That's hard. I struggle with that.
Really?
100%. Empathy is a huge. I try to be self-aware of that every day. Because I'm very like, that's not the right way. I have to change it. I have to make that right.
Oh, really?
I have to let me command that. Let me find a way to shape shift that into what it should be, because this is right. Which is not the,
because that validates your own voice and your own your own truth.
It says, oh, hey Josh, you're right.
Yeah,
you're correct.
100%.
And but I've recently figured out that the power to just look at that, understand that, and deep dive on that, just having it as it is, just looking at it and observing it rather than going in and changing it and making your own and making it into an image that you can accept personally is far more powerful than going in there and having the ability to smash something apart and build it back up. You know, it's not about building shit up your way.
Well, when you do that, it's like a never-ending toxic cycle. Like we all are always just going to argue then and battle it out. You know, everyone's not going to think the same way. It's just facts. I mean, I think there's like a basic understanding of love and like, you know, how to be like just a good person. You know, have manners, be polite. But when it comes to different ideologies and things, like there's always, like you see in America, like the left and the right. You know, you see with even people even down to the root, like you have vegans, you have carnivores now, the people that eat meat. Like people are always going to be opposites. But to me, I'm like, the vegans are right and the carnivores are right. That's their truth.
That's a good point.
Because how do I know what makes you the best person possible, right? Like if I'm like, yo, Ja is who makes me the best, and you're like, you know what, for me, Allah is my truth. I can't tell you you're wrong. Like that's just crazy to me. I can't tell you you're wrong. How do I know that? I'm not inside your body. I don't know what resonates with you. But I know it's like, if you're living your best life and you feel happy about it, that's your truth. And my truth is different from yours. But to me, I still think it all stems to one truth. That we're like all connected, that there's a one source God.
Dang, man.
That's his understanding. No, there's a guy on YouTube. He's really dope, named Seven Bomar. He says that's an inner standing. Right, when you understand it. And Rastafari, they'll say, you know, overstand, understand.
Wow. I don't know what makes you, I don't know what resonates the best with you. I don't know what makes you the best you. Fuck, that's so true. I never looked at it that way, because I used to, like I just said, like look at other people's ideologies and go like, hey, no, like you're being closed-minded. Like don't be closed-minded, because, you know, my personal goal is to stay extremely open-minded, because I understand my youth and I understand that I don't have the answers. So let's just not attach onto one ideology. So when I see people that attach onto one ideology, I'm like, no, you're not being open-minded. You may be right or you may be wrong. But I never even took it into consideration of like, well, maybe that's what makes that person the best person that they can be. Maybe that's how they live their best life. And maybe that's the right fit for them.
And that's how they make the world a better place, is by being the best person they could be.
And that's why that ideology for that person is right.
I like that. I got that perspective is when, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Jehovah's Witnesses that come around to the houses? So they would come, me and my mom always would talk to them, and I kind of play with them, and I'd always like chalk up a different religion that I follow, and they would they would always, you know, kind of battle me that like, no, you like not Muslim, this is the way. And I'm like, that doesn't, like, I'm telling you all your core messages, I'm telling you this is the same for me, it's the same root, I understand, but this makes me the best person possible. And like their resistance against me didn't make sense. I'm like, this is just, we're creating friction now, we're just creating resistance within each other, you know what I'm saying? Like, understand that you don't understand. You know,
but that takes humility.
But it's very freeing. It's very freeing when you don't feel like you have to change every single person to validate yourself and make sure that your ideas are right.
It takes such a mental burden off of you,
bro. It's like a weight off of you.
You're like, oh, it's okay, I can live with the world.
Even because I was like that a bit too, like when I first started, like, I guess, I don't know what spirituality, because when you first come into spirituality, you start deeming everything as like unspiritual or like that's bad, and then it's like, no, that's like, that's the same way. That's just like, that's exhausting. You know,
why do I have to label everything good, bad?
You know,
it's just where that object, that person is in that process. That's all that is. That's just a point in time. That's all it is, and that's subject to change.
That's the thing too. It's very subject to change.
And it probably will.
It probably will.
It probably will.
It probably will change.
I had to have like a serious moment of like, you said what'd you say?
Understanding.
I had to have a serious moment of understanding, introspection of, because I came to a realization where I was like, oh, all of my shit's going to change drastically. I'm in my 20s. Everything's going to change drastically. Like, I have been on this earth for such a short period of time that I know that my experience will, you know, pivot my perspective 180 degrees or whatever it may be. I'm just doing the best I can right now. So when I'm in a situation like this on the podcast, where we do a podcast every week, I'm like, oh, I just have to be okay with my opinions or my thoughts or my beliefs and be transparent with them as they are right now, and just be like, this is what it is for me right now.
Right.
And I don't know, like it's probably going to change.
It probably will change.
Like my perspective has changed from 20 minutes ago when we started this.
Right.
From like that understanding, and you know, like maybe that's what works the best for that person. So it's like I'm a different person from then to then, and that's why I don't even like people. So here's another thing you can relate to as a creative is like I don't even like people referencing, you know, episode 1.
Right.
You know, I'm like, oh man, I went through 5 different people since then.
Yeah. You're like, I've done a lot. I've learned a lot. There's a whole new perspective. But people will box you in, because if you come out with a belief system or you come out with an idea and then 5 years later that changes, people are like, oh, you don't know yourself. Oh, we can't follow you. And then people are scared to be like a leader, because it's like, well, if I'm not standing on the same 2 feet that I was standing on 5 years ago, am I wishy-washy?
Nah, that's just growth.
That's growth. But I think people get scared of that. And I also don't think sometimes as like communities, we don't like accept that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We don't allow people to change, like retribution and a road to redemption.
Yeah.
You see that a lot in society where, like, I don't know because there was the whole Me Too thing, right?
Right.
And it's like, as much as I, you know, don't agree with any of that, and, you know, I never condone any of that, it's like, there should be where's the road to redemption?
Right. Right.
How do you come back?
How do you come back? Yeah. I always say the cancel culture is very dangerous.
The cancel culture. What do you mean?
Very dangerous. Like when we decide to cancel somebody else, like we did, like I just, like you said, you know, I don't condone certain things that happened in the Me Too movement, but some people, let's say, have done something like 30 years ago, definitely, and let's say have grown into who was it? Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was a great example. 10 years ago, he had homophobic tweets, right? He's clearly like grown as a human being. Like, look where he is in his life, and people try to come for him.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't take the opportunity of hosting the Oscars because he's like, you know what, this is getting out of hands. And it's like, yo, people have to grow. Like 10 years ago, let's say, where was he? First off, a lot of people 10 years ago were homophobic, especially in the Black community.
100%.
If you're religious, you're gonna be homophobic. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If you go to Jamaica, very homophobic, because a lot of people, all they have is their faith. They have that Bible.
Is it really? Super homo? Or was it?
In Jamaica?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, what do you mean Jamaica?
I don't know. I've never been. I don't know.
Bro, we have songs out there that are straight about, I mean, reggae artists won't perform them anymore.
Of course.
But yeah, Jamaica for a very long time, I don't know, I'd probably say still now, is very...
that's crazy. I didn't mean to sidebar you there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I lost my train of thought.
Kevin Hart,
right,
homophobic.
Like, people don't want to allow him. They want to hold him to that. You know, they want to basically say, no, you're still this person. It's like, yo, you know, he grew. There's a road to redemption. Let's accept. Let's congratulate the new person and celebrate the new person. Right? He'll address the wrongs. Address your wrongs, and, you know, say like, that was wrong. You know, have accountability.
Yeah.
But let's like embrace. Yeah. The person you are now.
Yeah, you'll lose people if you don't too. Like, people shouldn't be X'd out of society. Like there's Kevin Hart is like a great example. Like, Kevin Hart is an outstanding comedian and actor and personality in this life. Could you imagine if we really X'd his ass out? Like, that would be a net loss.
You could be missing out on. Someone made a good point to, like, imagine they're like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X before. Everyone has done some wrong, but imagine if we didn't allow these people to become Malcolm X. He wasn't always Malcolm X as we knew, you know. Before that, he had some wrongs that he had to right. Same with Martin Luther King. Everybody kind of had like a past that they had to like grow and be like, wow, I need to be different. I need to grow. And if we didn't allow them to become these people, they wouldn't have shifted and shape the world. That's why I think cancel culture is very dangerous as well, as when we cancel somebody out just for when something comes out that we hear of something and we're not 100% sure. But we're like, get rid of them, and it's just like this
off with the head,
with Twitter, and then it's just like, and then we're off that, you know, like by the next week we're on a whole different topic, but they've still been X'd out,
and they're done.
They
can never come back.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's witch hunts, man. It's like modern day witch hunts.
Some people need to be kept accountable. But,
don't get it twisted.
Yeah, you need to be kept accountable. But again, it's dangerous waters, because like it's easy to cancel because you're not in that shoe. Or you may never be in that because you're never going to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
so you can never understand.
Everybody, I always say, like, in life, everybody's going to fuck somebody over, and everyone gets fucked over.
Yeah.
It happens in business too. Like, it just happens, you know? You end up doing some fucked up shit, and you learn from it.
Yeah.
And that happens in life. Everyone does something wrong.
It's really cool though when you encounter humans that like, you know, if you mentor anybody or you encounter younger humans where you're like, I know this person's gonna go left when they should go right, but this person is so solid in their foundation that I'll ride with them through that. 100%. That's a cool moment. Yeah. I'm sure you've experienced that as a parent. Oh my gosh.
I experienced that as a parent, yeah. And also just as like a human being, because I've had a lot of my friends are younger than me. In a sense, like I've kind of like a big bro mentor to them. I've always gave them keys to my studios and whatnot. They're good like 6 years younger than me. And I've seen like, oh, you know, they're going to go this way, try to guide them this way, but just allow them to be who they are. The same way, that's how I parent my daughter, you know. I allow her to be who she is.
Okay, listen, philosophically, like I understand that, but what does that mean? What does that look like practically?
I only learned it because that's from my mom. So my mom never like was like, I want you to be this person. I want you to go to school and do this. She just kind of allowed me to be who I am. She didn't put you have expectations to be like a good person, you know, like, listen, like I want you to like, you know, come with love, come forward. But my daughter, like all I tell her is like, you know, embody love and work hard because, you know, at the end of the day, you want to be comfortable.
Work ethic matters.
And I always tell her, you know, do something you're going to love and just be who you want to be. I got blessed because a lot of people, I realized, like, I know people, their parents are so strict on them and they have so many expectations of them, and it puts them in like, some of them, it works for them, you know, it pushes them, but a lot of people like live in like mental slavery from it. And my mom just never, I realized I was so privileged. My mom just never did that. Like, as weird as I got too, like, you have to understand, like, I just didn't go down like, right? I just didn't go down like, I didn't go to like university. I didn't go to college. I started making beats in her basement. Like, what are you doing? The next thing you know, I'm making videos. And then she starts to see I'm doing some things, like, you know, I'm flying around the world. Okay, this must be something. Then I quit all that, start growing my hair, stop eating certain things, and like going to like, she just always allowed me to be. And then she just says to me like, wow, like, I love who you become. Look
at what you've become.
Yeah, but I always say like, man, you gave me the freedom. Like, you didn't interfere too much. You kind of like just guided me.
That's really, so my parents are similar. I grew up on Hornby, so it's a little bit different of a situation, but it was, I had like 2 rules. I had 2 rules. I had 3 rules, that's a lie. I had, don't come home in the back of a cop car. Don't get a girl pregnant. And don't do any drugs if they're made in a lab. That's it.
That's pretty sad.
I avoided all of those things.
That's good.
And I had no expectations around school, athletics, no nothing. Right. Like my mom dropped out in grade 9. Like it was like, it was like, go do whatever. And through that freedom, like, yeah, you have a couple stumbles along the way, but you quickly find out like, oh, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna work. And because you have that freedom, you can identify no, oh, that looks good, let me go towards that. But without that, I mean, if you just have those horse blinders on, if you just have those horse blinders on, you can't see the contrast. You can't see the contrast.
Right.
So if you can't see the contrast of the dark to the light doesn't even look light.
Wow. That's a bar. You may have to like loop that. That's crazy. That's so true. Wow.
I think.
Did you have like a religion like growing up? Or were your parents religious?
Nah. There are a lot of religions in my life, a lot of influences. There was like a lot of Rastafarian type, you know. There were some Haitians and some voodoo. There was a lot of Christianity, Judaism. There was like everything.
So you're just like open to like all perspectives.
Yeah, man. Like, and my mom let me do whatever. Like my grandmother's is a heavy like Baptist Christian. And she was like, you know, we go and visit my grandmother in Victoria, and she'd be like, hey, you want to go to church? And I was like, cool. Like, grandma's going to church. Let's go to church. Like, what's at church? You know, they give food, or like, what are we doing? What's up? You know, like, let's go. And then I just went to like Sunday school, went to church a couple times, and I'm like, this does not make sense. Like, I was just like, as an 8-year-old, I was like, why are they telling me what to think?
That's how I was too. But nobody like placed religion on me.
Right? So what was your thought from an early age?
When I try to think of it, because I'm like, what was my relationship with God as an early child, because no one ever told me about God.
Yeah.
No one ever explained to me as God. My grandma, she was pretty, I guess, Christian. I remember I went to church with her once, and I was just bored. But I never, I always just saw people like fighting about religions. And so it was something that I just didn't want to be kind of a part of. And I hadn't really no identity of God, to be honest. I just didn't even think about it. I was just like, it was weird. It was weird.
So how did you process it? Like, even if you're in church that first time, or like when you're first introduced to the concept, the ideology around
I went
that?
to Bible camp.
No, really?
I went to Bible camp because they had wakeboarding and stuff. So I went to Bible camp in Kelowna. It was actually lit. But yeah, me and my friends went, and I remember this is when I was really turned off from religion, and I'm not now. But they had all the kids at like in the hall, and they're having their sermon, and they're like preaching, and they're basically like, they were kind of making us feel a little bit guilty. And I remember my best friend, his name was Ross. He broke down crying. A lot of kids broke down crying because they're like, because they wanted to give themselves to God, and they felt like they had to give themselves to God. And I left, and I went back to my cabin, and I remember we all had like big bro counselors or whatever.
Right.
And he came back, and he was like, Trevor, like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm just not vibing with that over there right now.
Yeah.
And it just felt weird to me. Like anything with religion just felt weird. So I just turned that off. But I always felt like I was always very confident as a kid. Like I always felt like I had the ability to create my life.
Right.
Like I felt like I was in the driver's seat, and like,
if you didn't want to do something, you wouldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I always practiced my own free will, like just from earth. I always say, like, when I was a kid, because I had a lot of quiet time, I don't know, I feel like I had an understanding, like I
like that word. I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a little better than understanding. It's understanding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no real recollection of God that way. I was just confident. I had confidence in myself.
So listen, I mean, this is something that like a lot of people struggle with, because as we grow as a race, as a human race, we used to think weather was God. Like we did. We were like, oh, God is angry. It's storming.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah. And as science and our understanding and technology went, we're like, oh no, like, there's certain reasons why the weather's this way. There's low pressure systems, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that's not God. Da, da, da. And then we've advanced, and now we're at this spot of like, we look at the universe and space time, and we're like, oh, that's God. And so we continue to advance across this, and it's like, I always wonder, if we were to extrapolate 100 years or 1,000 years, what does God look like then? Because let's be honest, if you look back 500 years from here, you look at the perspective that we see from history, and we're like, oh, that thought process is so in its infancy. And you're like, well, no, they just, they were ignorant because they weren't as educated, but they went with what they thought they knew at that point. So today, I look at everything in full spectrum of like, from the birth of man to the day our species dies.
Words, yeah. And
I'm like, if this is the whole spectrum, and I'm holding my hands out for people that are just listening, I think we are 1/100th of the way. And so I'm like, I'm not, with that perspective, I'm not entitled to believe anything is correct.
Right.
But that gives you a sense of hopelessness.
Right. Yeah. That's tough.
And that's a really hard thing to go through.
I don't know. I choose to see God in everything. Like when I look at you, I see God. And because I could see God in you, I have to see it in myself.
Right.
Because if I'm looking at God, then God must live within me. And I just believe in that. Like when we talked earlier, and I said, you ever meet people and feel like they're like versions of yourselves? When I come into those situations, to me, those are like almost teachable lessons from God. I don't have a scientific method of God. It's like you said, like, we determine storms. Wasn't God angry and whatnot? But to me, it's like, and again, this is my truth. It's just a feeling, it's a vibration. It's a way I think. It's the way I can model myself in the world. When I started to see God in everybody else, I started to treat people differently. On my day-to-day, every store I go to, any man I come across, I always call him my brother. Wherever I am, any store, I call everybody my brother. Always. Any woman, highest respect. Because I see God in everybody. And because of that, I had to see God in myself. And vice versa. If I see God in myself, I. Yeah,
it's universal love. Yeah, that's really interesting. God is almost intuition.
Yeah.
Like, essentially. Yeah. How did... Listen, the people that listen to this are your age and younger than you. And there's a lot of people that are highly inquisitive, highly curious, and lost in a lot of ways of like, we are all on a journey of learning. The education is everywhere. And people that listen to this seek out education actively.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is I try to put people and guests in a situation where, bring us along your timeline. Like, what was, as you recall it, what was your thought process from being that 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid and being like, okay, wait, this isn't right, for whatever reason you thought that, and how it developed through the years, you know, where you were repulsive at one time, or what was your thought, you know, in your early 20s, and how is it, like, how did you get to this, you know, level of understanding that you're at right now?
Like when I was just saying, like, when I was a kid, I felt like I had that level of understanding. I mean, even like spiritual books, and people always talk like, oh, you know, tune into your inner child. I feel like I was tuned in back then. I feel like I when I grew up and I came around 19, let's say around 18, 19 years old. 19 is when I started to smoke and drink. You know, I was kind of a late bloomer. Like most people I knew were like started around 16 or whatever. I waited till I was like of age. But I guess weed was legal then though, but that's when I feel I disconnected from myself, right? Not because I was like binging or anything. I was just like, you know, the average smoker and drinker, you know, go to the club, have drinks and whatnot. Yep. But that was just so not me. Uh-huh. The most important thing I ever did was after me with all the creatives, with like Sean Kingston, Tory Lanez, all that, when I came back and I had to rediscover myself, I had to turn everything off. And I always say the number one thing that allowed me to transform and find myself was celibacy. That was I still to this day, and I'll say, like, I'm not going to say I'm celibate for life because I'm not, but I'll say, like, I'll use celibacy throughout the rest of my life at times where I need to sharpen myself, at times where I need to tune into myself.
Wow. And
that was single-handedly that changed my life. And not because I was a sex addict or anything. I'm just saying that's when you go into celibacy, that's a different energy. It's a difference. Like, you can not have sex for a while, but like when you're consciously, like when you go celibate, it's a different intention. It's all about the intention, right? And that put me into a different mind frame, a different space. And while I did that, I was able to remove everything. Like, I stopped completely drinking. I stopped smoking weed completely. I stopped consuming any kind of processed foods, any sugars. Like, everything all happened at one time. Yeah. Right. And before that, I was just like, whatever. I ate whatever I wanted. I go out with the homies, drink, smoke weed, make beats, whatever. Nothing too serious, nothing too bad. But when I removed all of that and I was sitting there in my house by myself, dreads growing out, haven't had sex in 2-3 years, haven't drank or smoked in 2-3 years, had no crutches, no coffee, no sugar, no nothing. And I'm like, I'm happy and I have nothing to lean on. I was like, oh, and that's when I felt like, oh, I'm powered by Jah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right?
That's crazy. Okay. Take me through that though. Like, come on. Stop playing. You know, like, no, like, not to say you're playing or anything, but like, I've never experienced that. And that's like, I put that on a pedestal, me personally, because I love, I have an addictive personality,
right?
In everything, right. You know, and so I love detaching myself from things because I'm aware, I'm self-aware in that. So I'm like,
strengthen that.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's put down coffee. Let's put down processed foods. Let's put down alcohol.
Discipline,
let's put down.
Man.
Yeah,
I'm all on discipline.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Celibacy though.
That's beautiful.
What was was that the first thing that you're like, okay, let me put this down? Or was it like coffee first, or was it alcohol first?
But it was celibacy. So
what?
I remember I was watching.
See, to me, that's the last thing.
No, because I was watching a video on YouTube. This guy, his name was Coach Cheese Taraksa. He's like a wellness guy, and he had this video about how when you masturbate and you like ejaculate, like you're losing energy. And then I watched another video how they break it down, like how much actual like zinc and things you're actually losing. I'm like, this actually makes sense. Then I was tuning into this other guy called Mantak Chia, and he was big on that in the Tao. They're like, yo, every time you ejaculate, you're losing energy. Then I started to research. I got this book about like Tantra in India, and they're talking about the energy exchanges. I'm like, this is interesting. I don't know where the celibacy fully came into the idea, because first I was like, oh, I'm done with masturbating. That seems like a waste of energy.
Yeah, that's right.
And then next it just kind of came like, someone brought celibacy to me. It was this African guy who's like an elder, and he said to me, he's like, yo, you should try celibacy. And he was a guy who could like kind of see spirits and talk to spirits, and he's like, you'll find a lot of power in there. And I'm just like, you know what, why not? Like, let's just try it. I only meant to try it for like 6 months or a year, but it just had like profound benefits.
How so?
So first, when I started celibacy, I failed in the first month because I basically went out,
I don't doubt
had some drinks, and saw somebody else.
She was cute, a little thing.
A little thing happened, and then I was so disappointed in myself. Because imagine, like you said, you're like, I like to test myself. If I say no coffee, let's say you cave, you feel bad about yourself.
100%.
So I'm like, okay, if I'm celibate, I can't drink, because when I'm drinking, I'm not in my conscious mind.
One leads to two.
So I'm like, okay, put away the drinking. And then at the same time, I was just like, well, if I'm not drinking, I don't really care about, I don't want to smoke weed either. Let's just get away. And that was weird because everyone just assumes I smoke weed. I got dreadlocks, like Rastafari. But I was just like, you know what? If I'm not drinking, I don't want to smoke either. If I want to be creative, I just want to find that within myself. Because sometimes if I wasn't feeling creative, I would smoke to get creative. But I didn't want to do that. So celibacy allowed me to remove drinking and smoking. And I'm not saying neither of those are bad, but they both could be used as crutches in your life, right? Like, you could be sad, you could be stressed out, you smoke a joint, I'm better now. But did you actually deal with the reason why you were stressed out?
Did you deal with the source?
Did you deal with the source, or did you mask it? And how long are you masking things for? It could be a very long time, right? So when I removed these things just fucking came out of me. Like, emotions I always had to deal with, I had nothing to lean on. I also wasn't leaning on food anymore, because I used to just eat anything, because I'm skinny. I can eat literally 45 Big Macs and not gain a pound. Like, I'm just I don't know what's going on. Genetics, I don't know what's going on. So I'll just eat whatever. Health wasn't a thing to me. But as I started to celibacy and learn about energy, I was like, oh, food seems important. So I first started experimenting with like raw food. So I started eating a lot of raw food, just like 80% raw fruits, veggies. I put away the meat for a couple of years, and I removed everything at once. This is why I say I went into my cave. This was like my cave within the city. This is when I created my home and all my plants.
Did you have withdrawals or anything? Like,
bro, no, not really. The hardest thing was probably drinking. When you go into like a social space and just even have like a casual drink. There was probably like the first year for the drinking, I would feel the need, because again, I was shy. So drinking was also a thing where have a couple of drinks, nerves are calm,
open up, we're good.
Open up. But again, that was masking me from actually becoming who I am, because instead of me becoming comfortable with myself, I was having a couple drinks. People do it all the time. People go on dates, have a couple drinks, it makes it easy. A lot of people get drunk to even have sex with somebody the first time because they don't know them. To me, I'm like, I've done that. I've gone out like with a girl on a date, we have drinks because we don't know ourselves, and to get to the bedroom, I don't even feel comfortable unless I'm having drinks. I'm like, I shouldn't even be in that situation with her. You know what I'm saying? So when I removed all of that, it allowed me just to like understand who I am, deal with who I am, heal myself, anything that had to be healed, but also embrace myself. And after you're doing that, once you're on that on that road, you just keep going. You're like, well, it's okay. It's been a year. Why would I quit now? Things are blessed. It's been another year. Oh, everything, and it just becomes your lifestyle. Damn. It just becomes what you do. People get disappointed all the time because people always want to smoke with me. I'm like, I don't smoke, bro.
What are you talking about? Like, oh, you got dreadlocks. What do you mean you don't smoke?
All the time. People get so mad. They're like, oh, it's a burn one. I'm like, I don't smoke.
Damn.
They get disappointed. Same with drinking. They're like, the only times I'll drink is just like if I'm like in a new city, or I'm like, I like sake. So if I'm at like a cool sake bar, I'll like have some sake. But yeah.
That's crazy, man. I'm all about that whole thing, because when you strip everything down and you're left with the bare bones, like, that's a scary moment.
But that's when you get to feel your energy. Like I say, celibacy allowed me to feel my energy, and that's how it allowed me to cultivate it and put it on like film and like create my space. Like everything was removed, so I just had to feel. I cultivated my energy from the ground up, and that's why I say I will be celibate for life, not actually, but in the sense I will use it as a tool. Like when I need to, like, oh, I need to go in right now, or right now there's things I need to learn about myself, turn that off, and that's like a zone you go into, just like an athlete who's got to like prepare for the playoffs, and I'll do that. Okay, the next year we're going into that again, boom. And after I did that, it's very easy. I could go without sex very easily. Crazy. After the celibacy for 3.5 years, then I was in a relationship. After the relationship, boom, no sex for a year after. Easy. No masturbation. Easy. Damn. Because it's just like, I did that. I learned that. I don't find value in wasting my energy anymore. Now I learned how to transmute that energy. When I started to learn that your sexual energy is the same as your creative energy, that made sense to me. I was like, oh, so every time I'm horny, I could actually take that energy and put it into myself. Oh, that sounds much more powerful.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Oh, let me do that. That's like a real powerful
see where
beat.
that goes.
Let's see where that goes.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. And that's what I did.
Okay, so two things. The first thing is you use the word transmute.
Yeah.
That's a different, like you have a different vernacular. What does that mean? What does that mean?
To me, transmute, I don't know what the dictionary
what does it
definition
mean
is,
to
but
you?
to me it transmutes about like transmute my energy, taking it from here and putting it into something else. Right? So like I said, if sexual energy and creative energy is of the same source, instead of using it in the, like my old habits would be like, okay, well, two things. Porn, like I think porn is like the worst addiction for people ever.
Yeah.
I think it's just a waste of energy.
Yeah. And toxic. Yeah,
it's just toxic, right?
Yeah.
But okay, let me take that energy and transmute that. Like if people have like addictions, that's an energy. There's a way to transmute that into something else, right? You can take a situation that's full of anger and transmute that into love. You know, so I have a video I put out on my YouTube a few months ago about a lady who was barking at me on the street.
Yeah.
And instead of like engaging in that bark, I transmuted that whole situation and turned it into a loving situation. I took the energy and I put it through my own filter, like I guess a filter process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it came back with love.
Yeah.
They say like energy can't be destroyed, right?
Yeah.
It can only be
transferred.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by transmute. And that's powerful when you can do that. That's like being your own alchemist, right? Like
being your own alchemist. Have you read that book?
I have, but I'm not like,
Yeah.
I don't quote it all the time or whatnot, but
the concept behind it is
the concept
it stands true.
And he's a very, have you ever seen him like on podcasts and stuff?
I have not. Paulo Coelho.
His voice is amazing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
he just talks so cool.
He has got an accent now.
He's got an accent.
What is it?
I forget. He was on Oprah's podcast and like he's just a wavy guy.
Super wavy.
Yeah.
Back to that energy, that transmuting, that transforming, that transfer of energy. So I'm just thinking out loud right here. So I believe the same thing, where energy can only be transferred from one thing to another. However, there's there's a thing in economics where it's conversion efficiency. So like, for instance, like a cow has terrible energy efficiency, because what goes into it versus the actual calories that comes out of it, like the calories it consumes versus the calories you get from a slab of meat, is terrible, because we consume so much more. So it's like that energy goes somewhere, and it actually goes to like, you know, thermodynamic heat, et cetera, right? But it's like, if we take that concept of like, okay, a cow eats a certain amount of calories, that's a ton, and it actually only produces so much when you eat it, and that's the problem with environmental, and that's why it's so inefficient, and et cetera. But if we take that concept and then apply it onto our own lives, like, where is the conversion in efficiencies? And I think it's in what you just spoke about, in terms of these substances or vices or relationships. Like, there is, like, I challenge anyone to take a holistic view of your life and say, where am I losing energy here? Like, where is there like an inefficient conversion of energy? Because I want it to be 1-to-1.
Right.
I want it to be 100% to 100%.
Right.
I want to use all the food that I eat and not let that go to waste. I want to use all the energy I have in a day. I want to, if I have a conversation, I want to have a genuine conversation and an energy exchange. Where are you losing energy? I just think that's an interesting concept. And I just made that up, but
no, that is, I think you're on the dot with that.
So there's that. And then what I wanted to ask you earlier is, with this mindset around taking these vices out of your life, how do you view social? How do you view social media? How do you navigate those waters? Because that's your life. Like, that has to be your life as a creative.
I'm super disciplined. I have rules around it.
Well, okay, what are your rules?
Normally, Instagram's not on my phone. Normally, I delete it like every single day.
I'm in that cycle right now too.
I delete it like every single day. I have 2 phones as well. So a lot of times I have one phone I'll keep at home, and that'll be my social media phone. And like my main phone I walk around with, I take it off. Because I realized no matter what, like no matter how long of a social media detox I go on, social media is a beast. Like it will suck you in like quick. It doesn't matter how long I've trained, like 3 weeks I've been like not on it, I've been good. Like you spend 10 minutes on that thing and then boom, it got you.
Dopamine right back.
Right back. And I'm like, oh, this is a different kind of beast that I always got to be on the offense. So I really actually started to utilize the whole screen time thing and studying how I use my phone and social media. And to me, I'm like, I need a good balance. There's no reason for me to be on social media. Even like when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, I was like on this for like a couple hours today. Like why? Savage. What was I doing? Sometimes my YouTube is hella high and I don't care about that because I go on YouTube and I consume long form content.
Yeah.
So if it says 10 hours YouTube, I'm like, I don't care. I was like 3 podcasts. I was like vacuuming and learning. But if I was on Instagram, I'm like, this is a toxic beast. And I see it as something very toxic. It can be if you're not disciplined. Right? So that's why I delete it. I realize if it's sometimes if it's on my phone, it's just natural reaction. I'll go. And then I'm like, wow, how, like every time I go into my phone, I'm not allowing myself to, I don't know, I would say like connect with Jah. I'm not myself to have thoughts. Like if I'm in a lineup at Starbucks, why don't I just be in the lineup at Starbucks?
Look around, feel the energy.
Maybe there's someone behind me that I'm supposed to talk to. That's like literally got the answer I'm like stressing about right now. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm like in my phone, I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be present. And when I've tested it, I've found a lot more happiness and stability in my wellness when I'm not focused in social media. When I go in there with purpose, you know, I could go on once a day with purpose and be like, I'm posting today, give my feedback. Who are the homies? Let me go show love. Come on. That takes 20 minutes at most. But when your social media is telling you you're on there for 6 hours,
that's not,
and then you're not happy with where you are in life, and then you accumulate that 6 hours in a month, that's 36 times 12. You're like, holy shit, it's like literally occupying my life. And what's the return? Because my followers don't go up crazy like that.
What's the ROI?
Like you said, what's the return? Like the energy, like what's the return? It's horrible.
It's ridiculous.
It's horrible.
And when you think about that, and then you think about, oh, wait a minute, I'm actually, every time I go on and I interact and I give likes or I comment, I'm actually feeding a data center. Like I'm actually paying someone else's bill. Like I'm I'm paying Mark Zuckerberg's bill every time I like something or don't like something, because then he learns my preferences. The algorithm learns my preferences. Next thing you know, I'm paying a machine. It's a savage thing.
It's a beast.
It's a savage thing. Stop liking everyone, by the way. That's paying someone's bills.
It's a beast.
Anyway, you want to show love, like call me. You know?
No, that's true too. Like, I'd be like, call me and say, I actually appreciate that too. And sometimes people will send me voice notes and explain how they felt when they watched my video. Or when we were talking earlier and you said something about my video and the way, and I was like, I like how you explain that. I appreciate that much more than just like a like. A like is
whatever.
It's whatever. Like, what does a like mean? It's just a like.
Like doesn't mean anything.
And now they're taking them off anyways. Like,
crazy world. So what are your boundaries around that? Like, how do you navigate that? Because I'm learning to navigate that every day, because a lot of things I do are centric around other people. I'm in all facets of my life and my professions is centric around people, and people are on social, aka I need to be, interacting on that level.
Right.
And so I'm constantly trying to I'm going through the weeds right now. Like, what are your rules around social? How do you delete it off your phone, but like, do you put limits or like?
Yeah, I give myself like a limit. I decide like how long does it, like why do I need it? First off,
like what am I doing here?
Like, why do I need social media? Okay, well, I need social media to create the awareness of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So am I posting today? No. Do I have anything to share today? No. Well, you probably don't really have to be on it. Sometimes, I'll do some mindless stories, which I prefer if I don't do that. Because I realized I did a test one time where I'm like, what if I stop just picking up my phone and just doing stories like this and stop picking up my phone, period. Instead, I pick up my camera and I actually create nice stories with my camera.
Yeah.
So I would only go on my phone for 5 minutes a day, but every single day I was doing like these professional stories with my camera.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I was just transmuting the mindless time and doing something professionally. Right. That's to me mindful social media, coming in with purpose.
Yeah.
If I don't have nothing to share, I really shouldn't be on it because that's not really where I find my inspiration.
Yeah.
Right. Instagram rarely ever inspires me.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel like shit more than anything.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to, social media, you have to be disciplined.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy world, and it's only gonna get worse, man. I feel terrible for kids.
It's hard because like kids are growing up with it, and it's like you want to take it away from them, but then you can't fully. Like regardless, they're going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
That's why like my daughter has a friend, they have TikTok. So TikTok is like it's like Musical.ly, but it's like a social media app. It's huge. And they're on TikTok and her parents don't want her having a TikTok account. Then they let her have a TikTok account, but they're like, it has to be private, right? But her page isn't private, but she's like, don't tell my parents it's not private, right? So she's lying to her parents already about it. My daughter, she has a TikTok account. I know she has a TikTok account. I follow her. She sends me videos that she makes. I actually encourage her to make videos because I want to be a part of it. I know this is going to be a part of her life. So if I can teach her at an early age how to be mindful of it, how to like, it's hard to tell somebody don't care about the like. You're going to care about the likes a little bit, but how to be, be conscious about it. That's the route I'd rather go than try to like hide you from it, because it's going to be a part of your life regardless. Like this is
100%.
This is what it is what it is.
That reminds me so much of when I was introduced to alcohol.
Right.
Like my parents were like, here, you want to try it?
Oh, go ahead.
Try it. Like my mom taught me how to roll a joint at like 12. She's
Really?
like, here. She's like, come here.
Wow.
Like, let me show you. This is what this is about. Do you like it? Do you not like it? At the time, I was like, no.
Right.
And obviously, it's a developed taste, but there was no restrictions, and it was all like, and as a parent, it's more like, I want to teach you how to use these tools in the right way rather than just not touch them at all.
Yeah.
Because that's going to lead you down a more destructive route in the long term. It's the same thing now with social. Like, okay, how do I use this in the right way? And I don't even think as adults we've established the right way yet. Like, the technology is so new. It's like, well, I don't know. Like, what is the right way to use this? I think you're onto something with what's my purpose.
I always say like your screen health equals your mental wealth. So like as much as you're on your screen is like how you're going to be feeling your well-being. And I know everybody will agree. Like if you're on your phone all day, every day, you don't feel all that great, right? Especially if your life's not in the best place, because all you're doing is consuming everyone else's life being in the best place. You have to be disciplined. And to me, I'm a disciplined individual. I find power in there. And I found out that social media is a whole nother beast that they've created. And no matter how much I work at it, if I come back to it, it can suck me in.
Yep.
Right? As time goes, I lose a little bit less interest. But regardless, if you're posting content, it feels good. The dopamine feels good. You want to see what people are saying. Another thing I do is I post something. I try to not look at I'll delete it off my phone, and for 24 hours I won't look at the engagement.
No, really?
Yeah, because if you sit there, you can sit there for like an hour or 2 hours.
Oh, there's another one.
There's another one, and then reply to the comment. Oh, there's a DM. Now go on the story. The worst is looking at who sees your story. That's just a cycle.
That's a
and like what you said,
cycle.
Mark, you're just paying Mark's bills. Mark's like, loving it. So me and like post something and remove that instant gratification, because the most sustainable cycle for a creative is create, share, create. Mm-hmm. Right? That's like, especially in this day and age, because what's the problem now? You put something out, it's old a couple days later.
Yeah.
Like you can put out something amazing, a week later it's old, and you have to do it again. And I realized the only way to do that is to create, post, get back to creation right away. Don't sit there in the likes. So I wait 24 hours, go back, and just get everything at once, and it feels better. Oh, here's 200 likes, here's like 10 comments, let me reply all this, get back off. Go back into creation.
And it doesn't feel like crack, like
it is crack though. If you use it like crack, it does feel like crack.
It's crack. Straight. So yeah, man, it is what it is. Still trying to like navigate that, and it's not to say we don't like appreciate people on social, and it does amazing things, but
I've had friends tell me like, yo, you don't mess with me, do you? I'm like, why? You don't watch my stories? I'm like, bro, I call you, I'm there for you. When you need me, I'm like, pick you up at that. Like
whatever you need.
Anything you need, like you come to me with like, you're bro. I'm like, I've got you. But like, I can't sit up. No, I'm taking care of my screen health right now, bro.
Dude, literally, I don't understand that at all. There was a time in my life, like 2 years ago, where I was like, I'm in a bad space. I need to audit what the inputs in my life is. I need to audit my environment. So I like went through and I'm like, I'm going to only follow 50 people. I'm going to follow 50 people. And these people are going to be icons, thought leaders, people that give real value every time I see something pop up. It's going to diminish my feed incredibly, but what I do see is going to be amazing because I trust these people as sources of information, of love. And I was like, okay, that's the way to go. Dude, my text messages just...
It's crazy when people know you unfollow them right away.
Nothing.
Too. Yeah.
They got the maps and shit. I know.
Is that what it is?
It's apps or whatever.
I was always curious. I'm like, how did you know I just unfollowed you?
There's like weird apps and all that type of stuff.
See, that's a toxic place to be.
That's a toxic place to be.
To be like, someone unfollow me, like that's that's on your priority list. But you shouldn't have social media at all.
Yeah. But then people get it really messed up because it's like, oh no, like Josh doesn't fuck with me, man. Like there's no way Josh fucks with me. He doesn't even follow me. If he doesn't even follow me, he doesn't fuck with me.
Best friends. I've had a best friend say that to me, like, you don't watch my stories. And I'm like, in the last month, I've showed up for you like 45 times while you've been going through some of the hardest things in your life.
Yeah.
I've been there by your side.
Yeah.
But you say I don't message you because I don't watch your stories.
That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyways, I wanna wrap a little bit in a little bit here, but I gotta ask you though, because you talk a lot about switching gears here a little bit. You talk a lot about your views, your spirituality, your way of thinking, the environment you create, and your thought pattern, right? And there's a lot of parallels there, and it fits into, there's similar themes, and a lot of that is around like a Rastafarian culture. A lot of that is around like a very creative culture. And people could box you in. Meaning when I say that is you have now created an archetype for yourself. And now sitting down talking to you, it's very apparent to me that you are many different people within this one person. Is it important to you to communicate that externally? Communicate that of like, because me personally, I hate when people put me in a box. Like, because I only post, I'll post a couple photos and mostly the podcast, because I'm excited about every podcast because I love it. And like, oh, he's the podcast guy. Well, like in reality, the podcast is probably like 1% of my life. Mm-hmm. And so I try to do everything like to break that archetype. Now it's like HINDZ is just a creative, or HINDZ is he's just a filmmaker. He's just a videographer. Does that bother you at all? Like, do you try to break that? Because I know now sitting down talking with you're many different people, but does that bother you?
Yeah, I wouldn't. If I said it didn't, I'd be lying. Like, yeah. I would always get mad when people call me a videographer. I was like, how are you gonna call me a videographer? Like, I do so many things. Like, I express myself in so many different ways. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't like the labels, because like even when we said, I'm like, yo, I want to do home decor, like.
And I laughed a little bit.
Yeah, you laugh because you're like, what? Where does that come from? But I'm like dead serious, right?
Which is fucking awesome,
right? I also have an idea. I wanted to, before the home decor, I want to do a visual audio, like I want to do my own TED talk, but tour it, but like a visual audio experience. Basically, like the energy I give in my videos, but like on stage. My biggest fear growing up was always public speaking. Biggest fear, but like I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I want to do. Yeah. So that again, like you can't call me a videographer when I have these other things in my mind. And I would do things definitely to try to like break that. But at the same time, I'm like, man, HINDZ, you could just surprise people. People are going to think what they want to think of you anyways. People look at me and automatically be like, he smokes weed, right? People look at me and be like, oh, he has to be vegan. He has to be this. Like, I'm like, what? People are going to perceive me how they want to perceive me. But the surprise is beautiful. If I do things that surprise you, cool. When you could talk to me and you're like, oh, you're different. Oh, I didn't know there was this part of you. Oh, interesting. I'm content with that too.
Yeah, it bugs the hell out of me.
Because you don't like being boxed in. You feel it.
Yeah.
But
and then it's like, oh, he should move this way. He should act this way. He should think this way. When I'm just trying to break through all of that.
Yeah, but it's hard. I mean, I think always trying to prove to people and like break those from people. I think that's an endless cycle.
That's also feeding your ego.
Yeah, I think you just got to do you, and then like, surprise people. Don't worry about it at all.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it's like at other times, like people nail it. Like, oh yeah, HINDZ, like I bet he eats raw foods and shit. I bet he's like super on a health tip, and you're like, yeah. Like, but sometimes I like a bag of chips too. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I like to do like. I don't want to be boxed in. Like the craziest thing I've watched is on YouTube is all these vegan YouTubers who had to come out with these confession stories that they started eating meat because of their health. And like, they were so scared to do it because they built this base about being vegans. And they're like, okay, well now I eat meat. And it was like, people got so mad at them. Yeah.
And I get it, because you created your identity off of this vegan person. But like, then that's what you did for your health, and now you're experiencing other foods. You're like, oh man, I eat some eggs, I feel good. But you feel scared to tell people that because everyone wants to box you in.
But you know what, on that, like I have such a profound respect for people that do 180s. Like there's some vegans and there's even carnivores as well. Like, oh, I really went down this. I was really attached to this community. And then I did some research and I realized that this is not good for for my metabolism or for my whatever it is. Like I'm not built the right way for this, and I just attached myself to that, and I realized that, and now I'm going down this way.
That's powerful.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Right. That's amazing.
You don't have to think one way. Like, you don't know, at no point like do you have to think one way.
And if something worked for you at one point, doesn't mean that it was wrong. That it worked for that period, that season, that period of your life. That's what it was. If that's how you ate for that season, cool. Now you need this. Now you're on this. Now you have more knowledge in a whole spectrum. Right?
Yeah, I was looking into that, like just on the season thing of like going through, because I'm traditionally, so where people are from has so much to do with, you know, their bioavailability of different foods and what they have developed to, you know, how they can get nutrition out of different foods and what foods work for different people. If you're around the equator, you're used to more grains and more fruits, etc. If you're from a northern, you're usually used to more meat, etc., more fat heavy.
Yep.
So like my family is Northern European, and so, you know, traditionally we'll have a ton of meat in the wintertime. Meat and what's it called when you can foods, fermented foods, in the wintertime, and then in the summertime a lot of grains and things of that nature, because the crops are coming in, right? So I'm just recently this year kind of like testing a little bit of like trying to like, okay, well, what do I feel like if I eat more meat intensive in the wintertime, and then in the summertime transition more fresh, more grains, etc. And to be honest with you, like I feel great, and like I'm not trying to like I don't know, like I'm just making this stuff up as I go.
Well, and everyone's body is completely different though.
100%.
Like, what works for you is not going to work for me, and vice versa. And that's why I don't like health, like too much topics of people telling you like this is bad for you, because I'm like, how do you know? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm allergic to cashews and pistachios. I'll die if I eat one. Yeah. Like, you may thrive.
I love pistachios.
There you go. You know what I'm saying? So we're not the same. Like, some people can't digest meat that well.
Yeah.
When I stopped eating meat, like for a few years, I was like, oh yeah, I watch all these videos, read all stuff. Like, yeah, your body can't digest meat. And then when I tried meat again, I digested it so easily.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you're talking about your family and your heritage, mine is of Jamaican, and then my mom's from Newfoundland. I also have on my mom's side some Inuit too.
Oh wow!
Right, you know what I'm saying? So my mom will say all the time that she's like very carnivorous.
That's right? A crazy mix.
It is. Yeah, Newfie and Jamaican. It's just random mix.
That's super random, but sweet. I mean, cool. Yeah, whatever.
It's dope, right? But again, everybody's different in that way.
Yeah, figure it out, right? I mean, it's whatever at the end of the day. So what made you go on this whole raw foods thing? Because I'm you know, I know you're saying everyone's different, but what made this whole raw food thing right for you?
But that's not the one. I eat cooked food.
Right.
I eat everything. But
right.
For me, raw foods was, I never ate raw foods growing up. I was like burgers and rice and chicken and rice. I was pure carnivore. So when I started eating raw foods, it was just a different expression, and I started to enjoy it, like the simplicity. I really liked. Right. I like simplicity. Like appreciating things as is.
Just like eat a mango,
eat a
cucumber, eat a pepper.
Yeah, or like, you know, mixing a couple raw foods together and making like a little beautiful dish. The things you didn't know that go together, like, you know, when you put like mango and salsa, you're like, oh, that's crazy. This all goes together. Like, it's just cool, right? But then there's a lot of energy as well. But then there's people who will like go into that ideology and be like, I can only eat raw foods and everything else will like kill me. And like, if I eat a potato, I seen this girl on Twitter. She was like, God, because she's a part of the raw food community, and she's like, guys, I ate a potato and like it didn't kill me. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's it. I'm like, man, like I don't want to think about food all day, every day. And that's what people do, right? Like, to me, that has to be on autopilot, because I have so many things to do in my day.
Your space needs
right.
to be
and now I realize health and trends are just like, it's all marketing. It's just all business now. Yeah. You have keto, you have the vegans, you have all these things. And I'm like, I realize the food is the last thing I want to think about. Yeah. I have it on autopilot. I know what's good for me. Yeah. I know if I eat this meal more so in the afternoon is good. If I eat too heavy at 7 p.m. it's not good for me. I'm more tired. You're lucky
that you figured that out, though. I mean, I guess
I experimented.
I mean, that's time with like, not lucky. Sorry.
I experimented, and I didn't allow myself to get stuck in ideologies. Like when I went fully plant-based for a couple years, and then I was like, I don't think so. I like salmon, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. When I do my research, there's actually nutrients over here and over here, so let me have a little bit of this. And I just experiment. But some people grab something, it works, and then they promote it, and then they have to live by it.
And then your body changes over time.
Your body changes.
Yeah.
You could be in a different place in the world.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Your body's reacting different.
Your body's reacting different. It's different foods, different season. Like,
yeah, I wish I was at your spot where, I mean, I just don't have the time on this earth and the experience. I'm constantly experimenting as well, but it's like, oh man, I want to have food on autopilot. I want to just be like, oh no, this is what worked for me. I'm good, so I can just like not think about it.
it just takes too much energy.
It really does, man. It really, really does. But I mean, food is also amazing, and becoming more mindful of food as well. Like actually, like, you know, chopping into a carrot and like actually hearing like the crunch of a carrot or something like that is crazy.
I also like not eating. That's something I do like.
Oh,
I
really?
practice quite a bit.
Oh yeah, fasting. So like extended, temporary. Like, what do you think? What's up?
I don't even know. Like, I don't like. I guess it's fasting, but I don't talk about it with people because I don't like to promote it too much. But I like to check why I'm eating, because a lot of times I realized when I was eating, it was just like emotional eating or boredom, or like, you know, I'm fidgety. So I'm like, oh, when am I actually eating because I'm hungry? And some days I'll be very hungry. So maybe I had like 4 or 3 meals a day. Friday and Saturday, I didn't eat.
Wow.
Right? I just had like juice. I had some coconut water. And then Saturday, I didn't even eat. I was not hungry. I'll just test myself like that. Huh. And then like Sunday, I started eating again. I had a bunch of fruit. And then I'll go move into denser foods probably now within the next couple of days.
Wow.
But I wanted to know, like, oh, am I eating? Because sometimes I'm just eating because I'm bored.
Or eating because it's society, or eating because you're in a group situation.
That's fine.
Or
That's
whatever,
that's enjoyment.
whatever.
That's how you connect with people, right? That's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, we connect over food.
Yeah, we connect over food. That's like a beautiful experience. But I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't. Emotional eating is a real thing. You know, like I'm stressed out.
Oh, it's damn real.
Know, yeah, I'm stressed out. Let me eat. And that comes back to my logic of when I said, when I removed smoking and drinking, oh, did I deal with the emotion or did I use something else to mask it? So then I would practice not eating.
Yeah, it's like dealing with the effect rather than dealing with the cause.
Right.
Right. I mean, essentially, like there's always something deeper rooted there.
I'm just a nerd for discipline, so I'm always trying to test myself.
But do you ever question yourself in that? Because I am too, and I'm like, oh
I
shit,
have to practice
maybe
letting go.
Yeah, see, I'm not there yet.
Sometimes I practice letting go. Sometimes I for a while, like I started to become known as like the health, like health guy. So people would be like around me and always say, "Oh, I feel bad eating like this around you," and that bugged me too. I'm like, "Yo, be human, right?" But I also had a power of letting go too, because I got attached to. I believe food has like a vibration, and food is a tool that you can use. But at the same time, I've practiced just like not caring and just eating whatever I wanted.
How was that experience for you?
It's fun, but like I'm not going to sustain myself like that, right? Like I do believe, you know, you consume too much sugars and it messes your mind and just like your overall nervous system. But you know, if I want to enjoy one day, I have that flexibility to be like, you know what, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I was in Seattle a few weeks ago, and I just ate whatever I wanted. I had a good time, because you know what, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I'm super disciplined.
Yeah.
But I need to be able to let go, because if I don't want to be crutched to that.
Yeah, I struggle with that. I hate that. Like I don't like because I believe in slippery slopes. You know, and like obviously that's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing, but you also have to have that like kind of that faith in yourself of like no. Like I know naturally I am this way, or I have built myself into this disciplined person, or I have developed these habits over time. I will come back to this and just like going. But I'm like, I'm just not secure enough to like let go.
I did a couple of weeks ago. Like I just totally let go one day, and then for like the next, and then I was just super disciplined.
Crazy.
Again, like super disciplined. So like now I know I can do that. I'm like, I'm good.
Cool. Let me just go over here and live life.
Yeah.
Lit. Lit. Yo man, you seem like you're in a very cool creative space and a cool, just, you know, you have how do I put this? I was gonna say a well curated energy, but it's not even that. You just have a free energy about you, right? So I mean, you've built this over a long period of time. Actually, not even a long period of time, which is crazy. You're super young.
I'm in the beginning.
Where do you go from here? Like, what are you thinking about now? Like, what's the next problem you're going to tackle? What's the next, I mean, you seem like you've been through it all from, you know, curing, or not curing, but dealing with social, or dealing with celibacy, or dealing with your relationship with food, your relationship with work, your relationship, you know, with your daughter. You seem like you've been through a ton of things. Like, what's next? Where do you need to improve?
I need to figure out how to fully invest in my own brand, because I'm spread out right now. Like my creative energy is with other companies and brands And like I know for me, if I could give myself 100%, like if I could go on like YouTube and like post 3 videos a week, I have so much confidence in myself that it's gonna work. And then I can get to where I want to do next. I can do my visual, audio, live perspective talk, and then I could do other things I want to do. Then I could do my home decor in 10 years.
Yes.
Right? But I haven't been consistent yet because I do so many videos, right? Because I have to sustain myself. I have to live, right? It's my job. It's my career. But I need to figure out how to fully migrate what I do, like my perspective, like what you guys are doing here, podcasts and things like that, and make it what fully fuels me as well. Monetize what I do, fully invest in my brand. I seen today that Hov is like the first billionaire. Yeah. And I read the article and they're like, there was a point in Hov's career where he stopped investing in other brands, invested in himself. That's when he started ownership. That's kind of like on my horizon. I had a little issue with my landlord this morning and he was like, well, then just move then. I was like, man, I'm just in a place where I want to be in like ownership. Yeah. I want to own what I do. I want to get to that space. So over the next couple of years, it's like, how do I have my own thing, right? I have In Hindsight, I have Powered by Jaw. This is me. But how do I take that to the next level now, right? I have to get consistent and I have to like align. I'd have that, not even balance. I want to fully give what I do its full energy it needs. But it's hard. It's hard.
I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the whole like, do half as much work, get paid just as much by like doubling your price. And if you lose half your clients, you're still getting paid just as much.
Yeah, I started doing that. I was on the phone last night and arguing with someone like, can we negotiate? I was like, no. Because now I just see things as my time, like, you know, my creative energy. I'm like, no, like I could go do me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like your creative energy to ultimately go be an interior designer. Like that's what those people are ultimately hindering. That's what that work is ultimately like hindering is like,
you're right.
You can't creatively grow.
Right.
So it's like, if I want to get to this spot, you're actually in the way, which is weird because that person's actually paying you. Yeah. But it's like, it's ROI. And it's like, well, you're not paying me for the 5 hours it took me to do this because you're actually paying me for the 10 years of work that it took me to get to this point of doing this in
people
5
would
hours,
say
right?
Like, oh, that's like I was on the phone last night and the guy was like, that's too much. Can we negotiate? I'm like, people will be like, you're fast at editing.
Yeah.
You could do fast work. I'm like, well, that doesn't make it cheaper.
Like
I learned how to do that.
Yeah.
Right. I learned how to turn an 8-hour edit into a 3-hour edit.
Yeah.
You have to pay for that.
Yeah.
You still have to pay for those 8 hours.
Yeah.
Those 10 hours. Like,
because I'm a more skilled craftsman doesn't mean I get paid less.
Right. But that's how it like, and it's hard as a freelancer and hard when you do videos and stuff. Cause it's like, that's like always like the one place people are always trying to like cut on cost.
Yeah.
But they want the best. They want something great, but they want to cut.
Yeah, it's tough. And they're ultimately hindering you to like where you want to go, which is like a weird thing to say. And I know that a mentor to me and someone who's on the podcast is Nick Lowe. And Nick, I was like, hey, Nick, how do you justify like $150 a physio session? He's a physiotherapist, right? $140, whatever it is. Cause like I'm broke, you know, like $140 like for an hour. I'm like, damn, like that's ridiculous. That's not like affordable. And like, don't get me wrong, it's like some of the best physio around. Like it's 100% worth the price of admission. And he said the same thing where it was just like, yeah, ultimately you're paying me because I have honed my skill to this point. And he's like, Joss, I'm like, Nick wants to leave his business. So Nick is like the CEO of Myo Detox, and Nick wants to leave his business, which is growing exponentially, like just unbelievable, like unbelievable. Was in a meeting with him last week. He's doing great, and he wants to leave, you know, in a couple of years and just go become a sushi chef.
Right.
And it's dope. Like, and I asked him like, well, like you're having so much success. You're like, what's that? What's next? He's like, I just want to go make sushi. And I'm like. And like something went off in me. I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get it, you know?
Right.
You know?
No, 100%. Again, I want to do home decor. I want to do these other things.
I like it. It's so listen, man, on this whole journey, and I'll end with this because, you know, your perspective is very valuable. In hindsight, you know, pun intended, when you look back at your life this far, your experience on this planet, and how you have navigated the waters to get to where you're at. If you were to look back and say, you know, what was the most successful point in my life or successful decision in my life where, yeah, I could go left, I could go right, but I went this one direction and it paid off. I want to know why you made that decision, what that decision was and why you made it.
What was the most successful
What
point?
was your most successful? And then I want you to contrast it with what was the most detrimental, the most absolutely titanic avalanche moment that contrasted that, and why did you make both those decisions? Because I think your perspective is valuable, especially in hindsight.
Are we talking perspective like in career wise?
Whatever. In your development as a human being.
Well, again, I have to come back to like the most successful pivotal moment in my life was when I decided to take on celibacy.
What?
Yes.
I thought you were gonna say like Sean or Tori or something like that.
No,
really,
because that was the most beautiful gift I offered myself. It gave me the ability to come back to myself. That was the changing point in my life. That was like the pre-changing point, like Sean Kingston and Tory Lanez.
How old were you at that point? When was that?
26.
At 26,
yeah.
You became celibate for a couple of years.
3.5 years.
Remember how I was talking about athletes and prime and shit? That's the time.
No, I recognize. no, I recognize it too. I was like, yo, I'm in my prime. But that's powerful too. Like that was because it gave me the abilities. I looked at a lot of like celebrities and powerful men, and like the one thing that seems to take everybody down is women. Like look at Kevin Hart. I'm sorry, I love Kevin Hart. He's like because that's somebody who's just such a. He does so much. I'm always trying to figure out how do you do what you do.
Yeah.
But at the top of his game, doing so well. And then he got caught up in such a silly situation while his wife was pregnant. Women. It seems like women are a big detrimental downfall for men. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I need to get a handle on this early.
Before it gets a handle on me.
Well, I have a daughter too. I need to set this. I need to set the foundation.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like
yes.
I need to set the stage.
Wow.
So I feel like I feel like when I get into position, that's not even a worry for me. Because that's, and when I do meet women, it's like, man, you have to offer I mean, we both have to offer a lot, but like that's not even where my mind is. Like we need to stimulate each other up here first. We'll get to that, but we need to stimulate here first. That was definitely the most important decision I made in my life.
Was that out of necessity?
That was from, I felt like I needed to do something.
Yeah.
I felt like I needed to change. I felt like I wasn't happy with who I was. I'm like, this is not me, who I am right now. I didn't feel like, I was like, I need to change. And I didn't know that was gonna do that. I just was like, I have nothing to lose. Like really, what do you have to lose if you say I'm not gonna have sex for a few years? You just don't have sex for a few years. There's nothing, you're not gonna do it again.
I mean, I guess like I agree with you on this.
You don't have to agree. I'm saying this is my I'm saying this is my ideology. This is what I believe. Like I actually truly believe that like every man, especially, and woman too, there's actually people in my life who, about 4 or 5 people around me who have all gone into celibacy because of me.
Wow.
And all has said thank you.
Wow.
All have like extreme benefits.
Like I don't doubt it at all.
I believe because let's say every guy starts having sex around 16, 17, 18 years old on average, and then has sex for the rest of his life. I think at some point, every guy needs to go celibate for a couple of years.
Take a break.
It's a break.
Contrast.
And it's going to be valuable for, if you want to have a wife one day, you're going to be a better man for her because of that. 100%, because you're gonna learn so many things in that process that you're gonna be able to give your best version of yourself to your future woman or whoever you're gonna be with, right? That was the most important.
Man, I almost want to end it there because that was so good. But no. What was that was a pivotal positive moment. What was the most pivotal negative decision that you made, and why did you make it?
Like a bad decision?
Yeah.
The worst bad decision was, I don't know. It would just have to be getting involved in a toxic relationship.
Really?
Yeah. Like
women, again.
Yeah, women. That was like the one thing, like, just being with someone you don't even truly love, but you just kind of kicking time, wasting time. So
why were you there then? What made you do that?
Just kicking time, wasting time. She was good looking, just waste time, kick time. That's what I'm saying. Like, and then things become toxic. I don't know. That's a hard one to really dive into because in like career sense, I don't feel like I've made too many bad choices. I feel like I've been pretty well with being intuitive and making good choices. In life, I feel like overall I've made pretty good choices, but I've made mistakes. Like, do I wish I had a daughter with someone that I love? 100%. I had a daughter at 20 years old, right? But again, that's my biggest blessing ever, right? Like I see my daughter as like a direct reflection of myself. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
like,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that, just to watch that as an outsider, is that your observations are pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and she's like literally a 2.0. Like, she makes videos.
No way.
Yeah, she makes videos like every day.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So like,
she's gonna be a beast.
whatever I do, it's
Hey Kevin, we're gonna have to
2.0.
hire her in 10 years, all right?
Whatever I do is 2.0. Like, she's,
We're gonna give her start. Okay, we're gonna do everything we can.
She's already started. We already have videos in the bank. Like,
We're good.
It's already about to come
Okay,
out.
well, okay, you'll
It's already
listen.
going well,
Hit us with that hourly rate.
She's gonna come on the podcast.
Okay.
She's gonna come on the podcast.
Can you connect me?
Yeah. I
Okay.
got you.
Okay. Bet.
The dadager over here. I don't know. That one's really hard, but like, you know, I would say just keeping toxic people in my life that didn't need to be there, you know, and then, you know, I think there's a point where we have like friends or like relationships and we know we should get rid of it. But for some reason, like, that toxicity is like comfortable, or you just don't want to go through that point of removing that person. It happens with friends. I literally just had to cut off a best friend of mine.
Tough.
Like, remove somebody out of my life because I was like, yo, you're way too toxic. You know what I'm saying? And that's hard. And I felt bad. I still feel bad. I'm like, man, I've known you a long time, but like, you got to go.
Yeah, I did that with a close friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in years. I haven't talked to him since I did it.
It just happens.
Yeah.
But imagine if you didn't.
I'd be in a worse place.
Exactly, right?
Hands down.
And that's the biggest mistake, is that I was in a situation with somebody that I was with them for too long.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it happens a lot. Right?
Becomes comfortable.
It becomes comfortable. I see it a lot. You know, I see it a lot in other people as well.
Yeah, I'd argue a lot of marriages are like that, but that's just me over here having opinions and shit.
I have the same. I see that a lot as well. I see
Yeah.
that. I think relationships almost need to be redefined in our society, because I think everything's changing.
We don't have a roadmap. Like,
No.
there is a roadmap.
Right. But before, I feel like there was a more clear, concrete roadmap. Like, you know, I'm seeing a lot more single people in their 30s now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, because like, people are like allowing themselves to just be who they are and like grow. But I'm interested. It's interesting on what it's going to be like 30, 40 years from now. Everyone's going to be tatted up, like no kids and stuff. Like, I
don't know. I was having another conversation with someone, and they were saying, yo, it's so funny. Like, I have someone that works for me, and they're like, hey, I'm gonna move to another place and be with my boyfriend, and I wanna work at this location out here, or I wanna move, you know, and leave the company to go be with that person. And he's like, yeah, you know, like, cool, like, do whatever you feel is right for you.
Right.
But I think just looking at it, like, it's so funny, you know, this person's in like, you know, mid 20s, early 20s, and it's like, I just see all these people, you know, he's like 40, and he's like, it's so funny, like, until you're 30, like, you're really a teenager.
That's how I felt.
Like, you're really, so it's like all these kids are just going around marrying each other and shit.
That's
like, how wrong is that?
No,
Like,
that's literally how. Because when I turned 30, I was like, I just feel like I'm becoming like an adult now.
Yeah.
And I'm like a super young adult.
Yeah.
It's like my 20s was child play.
yeah.
And a lot of people, like, how many people truly know themselves in their 20s?
Oh, I don't.
And then they tie the knot for life.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they said divorce rates are like 70, 60%.
Something like that.
Something crazy. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because I remember, like, from my generation, so like I'm 22, and so I'm
Damn,
born.
you're young. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You seem a lot older.
No.
You're in tune, bro.
I'm born in 96. Thank you. I'm born in 96, and so, like, my parents are split. Like, I was a bastard child and all that type of stuff, and, you know, ugly, whatever.
Oh, you call yourself the bastard child. I was one too. I just don't like using that terminology.
It's cool. I mean, like, you know, I don't know, whatever, black sheep. I don't know. I don't care. I am who I am. And my generation was, I always thought, like, oh, no. When we grow up and we become in our 20s and our 30s and we start to get married and stuff, or get to that age where we're supposed to get married, we're all going to be like, oh, look at our parents. And we're like, all of our parents are divorced. We're not going to get married. But it's like, oh, no, that satisfies an internal need. Like marriage is like a cheat code because we have all these like marriage and religion are both cheat codes. This is how I look at it because we all have this like existential crisis moment where we're like, oh shit, what is life? Where's the meaning of life? And we have two decisions. Either we go into the weeds or we try to dig deep down into that shit, or we go, oh, this marriage is the meaning, religion is the meaning, you know, and we go down that route, and it just shows that like, oh yeah, we had the knowledge and we saw firsthand what happened, and society's changed and shit, you know, it's different than it was then, but we still jump into these things just because it fulfills our needs. Like we are such a fundamental human species, like such a simple species. Like at the end of the day, we can have these in-depth conversations about everything, but like at the end of the day, we have needs and we need to fulfill them. And how you do things is fulfilling your needs. And you may think on another level, on a higher level, and you know, vibrate in a higher frequency, but you're still fulfilling your needs at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know what I was talking about, but anyway.
Everybody got different needs. Like for me, is interesting because I have no desire to be married or even be in a relationship, but it happens. You know, some people are like, I want a relationship. Yeah. Some people are like, I want to be married. Yeah. That only happens for me once someone's like in my viewfinder and I've connected on like a level. Now that happened after. So before celibacy, you'd be like, oh, I want a girl. It only happens now after like getting to really know someone. Right now I'm single. I have no interest in nothing. I'm like, in my mind, I'm never getting married. I'm never going to be in a relationship. I have no desire. But I'm completely open that I may meet someone tomorrow, and after time, oh my God, my whole, like, I could want kids again. I don't know. But right now I'm like, no, there's no desire that for those. So I know there's nothing I'm trying to fill. If I meet someone, all of that is clearly getting spawned out of love. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, it's like if you're before that, the thought pattern is like, oh, I want a wife or I want a girl. And it's like, you're saying I want a wife or I want a husband the same way you're saying like, I want a plant.
Right.
Like, oh, I want a computer. I want a new iPhone.
And you're looking to fill that position.
You're like, you're taking applications.
Yeah, you're taking applications. You know? I kind of just look at it different. Like I'll meet somebody and it just grows into that.
Right.
Instead of like, okay, who's going to be my wife? Let me fill in the gap. It's not like that.
Yeah. Women.
I say, man.
Watch out.
Yeah, I say, man, it's powerful. Like,
watch out.
Get a hold on that. Most powerful person.
I was really like, my father has a lot of issues around that, and my father's a very like powerful, heart of gold, incredible work ethic.
Right.
Women has been his detriment his entire life.
Right.
And I've seen that and looked at that firsthand and been like, okay, that's how you don't do it.
Right.
Cool.
You had that, yeah.
Let me go. So like I'm a long-term relationship guy, and I need to work on that as well. But I've always had like sustained, amazing relationships. I'm friends with my exes and stuff like that because it's like from day one, it was like have good relationships.
Right.
Like that is paramount, and I'm still like obsessed with that as well.
Really?
Right? Oh, 100%.
How do you do that? Like, how do you remain friends with them even after?
I'm super honest, man.
That's good.
I'm just like brute, and I'm like, I'll rip the Band-Aid off.
Really?
100%. I have to, because if I'm with you, like if I'm in a relationship with you, I love you, and I will always, because I love your soul. Now, if our souls aren't aligning and we aren't growing in the same direction, okay, cool. Right. We'll rip the Band-Aid off and stuff.
Of course.
But like even like I see some of my exes that are doing completely different people.
Right.
Completely different people.
Of course.
You know, and I'm like, oh wow, like I knew you were gonna be a beautiful person.
Right.
And I'm fucking happy for you. That's amazing.
Right.
And there's still that love and that connection. Like it's in a different place. Like I don't want to be with you. I don't want to sleep with you. No, nothing.
Course,
right? But it's like, that's amazing. But it's because at every step of the way, I was brutally honest.
Right.
And just dealt with the immediate ramifications.
That's real.
I think.
That's real. You're wise, man.
It's all theories, man. I don't have anything figured out.
But if it's, it's practical, if it's working, it's working.
Yeah.
Right. And that's good. I mean, I think being honest is obviously, I don't think it's a theory. I think that's always the way to go.
I think that's timeless.
I think that's timeless.
I think that's
what
timeless.
frees you as well. You know, like it doesn't feel good to hold on to lies and things.
No, definitely doesn't. Anyways, man, where can people find you? Where do you want to direct people? People listening to this conversation and they're inspired. They want to get in touch with you. They want to, tune in with your content, vibrate on your frequency. How do we find you?
Yeah, so definitely I say my YouTube, HINDZ, HINDZ site, SIGHT, same as Instagram. But the YouTube is definitely where I put more attention. There will be content coming back on there very soon time. And yeah, hit me up on there or DM me, IG.
Bless, but only at the right time of the day.
I'll still get, I may not respond right away, but I'll definitely, I respond to every single person that hits me up, because when people hit me up, I'll get like these long messages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I got to take the time to like respond. I can't just be like, I gotta respond. So
you can't just prayer emoji that one. You gotta go back on that.
No, but definitely, thank you, and that's where you can follow me.
Cool, man. Well, HINDZ, I really appreciate your time, and I think a lot of people got a lot out of this, and I enjoyed the conversation, man. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate what you're doing and where you're going, what you're creating, and the people that you're gonna change and the people that you're gonna inspire. So thank you for doing a service to your community. Ultimately,
wow. Thank you for having me here. This is a great platform.
Thank you, brother. And listen, man, until next time, let's have you back. Let's have a different conversation. I can't wait to sit down with the next iteration of HINDZ.
Yeah, because it's coming right now.
I want to sit and listen.
Brewing.
When you're an interior designer, come holler. Before that, come holler.
Yeah. I'll come holler at the beginning stages of it.
All right, cheers, man. That's it. Right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Appreciate you.
Please let me know what you thought of this podcast. Anything that stuck out. If there's anything in there that you want me to speak about again, or just overall thoughts. Your engagement and the likes really matter for the channel to grow and just, to be honest, just catch these algorithms. I hate asking for things. I'm one of those people who likes to do everything myself and don't ask for no help. But YouTube is teaching me I gotta ask y'all for a little bit of help. I need the engagement. It will help the channel grow. The more the channel grows, the more content I could produce, and the more diversity in podcasts I could produce. I can get up from this one spot and do some storytelling, some short films. So if you want to support the channel, please comment. Let me know what you thought. And yeah, you don't know, in hindsight, everything gonna be all right. We powered by HINDZ. It's a vibe thing.